Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Today we have a very special episode for you, a compilation of some of the greatest entitled parent stories we read over the past year. So sit back, relax, and enjoy a few hours of the most entitled parents you've ever heard of. And by the way, Karen assured me that if this video gets 1,000 likes, she won't try to speak to anyone's manager for an entire week. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And become an official member of the Re-Army today, and I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming video. r/Entitled Parents. Cafe Karen demands to check my phone. I, 26 female, was in a cafe recently doing my work. Restrictions have loosened, so it's allowed, and I was using my phone to scroll through social media. I was holding my phone upright because I have bad posture, so I slouched like a turtle, and was minding my own business when this lady comes up and tells me to stop taking pictures of her. I wasn't. I told her I wasn't, but apologized if it seemed that way, and I explained I was just using my Instagram. She insisted that I was and demanded my phone to prove that I didn't have any photos of her. This may have been the part where I was the jerk. I told her no, and she said that if I hadn't taken any pictures of her, then I wouldn't mind. I told her it's a total invasion of my privacy, but if she still had an issue, I don't mind showing her my gallery in the presence of the cafe's manager. She then started to scream at me, claiming I'm stalling to delete the photos of her, but I stood my ground and refused to let her have my phone. Long story short, the manager of the cafe got involved and told her to leave. Her date, who had been sitting there the entire time, called me a jerk and left with her. My other friend, who was with me, told me that I was the jerk because I should have given her my phone to shut her up and avoid a scene. My reasoning was I don't know her, so I don't know what she's going to do with my phone, and I had offered her a peaceful compromise. Get the manager involved so there's a third-party witness, which she rejected. So here I am asking you guys if I'm the jerk. Edit. Okay, so this is blowing up much more than I expected. Just to answer some recurring questions. 1. I wanted a third party, the manager, to be involved because I didn't want her aggression to escalate and result in her snatching my phone, eventual screaming, and more accusations. 2. I did not involve the manager in the end. Her screaming did. 3. The private photos on my phone are office documents that my boss is alright with me keeping photos of, but doesn't want shared out in public. 4. There's a lot of incidents in my area where people steal phones using similar ruses, so I didn't want to risk it. I'm posting here because my social group is split on whether or not I'm the jerk. The cafe I was in actually had a notice that said they had in-house photographers who would be taking pictures for their social media app, and I did not intentionally point my camera at anyone. I had been looking downwards at my laptop, so my neck decided on its own to go to turtle position, so my phone ended up upright. I try to consciously tell myself to point it downwards, but I'm human. 8. I understand the concern a lady would have. I've also been on the receiving end of creeps with phones. That's why I offered to show her with the third party present. I also wanted a witness to confirm I did show my gallery and there was nothing there. Edit 2 to clarify. I understand the concern towards privacy and the prevalence of creeps out there. That's why I wanted a third party involved, in case she got more aggressive and accusatory and even snatches my phone. I don't need anyone else DMing me trying to get me to see her perspective. I do understand. That's why I was alright with letting her look with the presence of the manager. I didn't do it on the spot because she was getting aggressive, and despite me standing up for myself, I was scared. Just to put it out there, I did not demean/invalidate her concerns. I have banking apps and e-wallets on my phone. So yes, I was also scared that my money would disappear once I handed it to her. Yes, my friend is somewhat the jerk. She has apologized and we're still friends. I was told I'm thoughtless and disrespectful and the jerk for not being considerate of others when I hold my phone. I'm sorry I'm human and forgot to point my phone downwards. My neck was tired from using my laptop. Some of you out there are thinking I'm male. I'm not. Well, what do you think? Is OP a jerk for not letting Karen go through their phone or not? Please let us know. She should have just snatched it away instead of asking to see it. This Karen needs more training. I got my patient busted for cheating by just doing what I was told. This happened back in 2009. I was working part-time at a doctor's office while I was in nursing school. I was one of the receptionists and did all of the filing and cataloging and such. It was boring work, But the doctor, my boss, guaranteed me a job after nursing school, so that's why I did it. This particular doctor was an orthopedic surgeon. We had lots of patients coming in for MRIs, CT scans, and x-rays. This one particular patient, Frank, was scheduled to have surgery in a couple days, and he needed to come in and pick up his MRIs and x-rays from our office and bring them with him to his procedure. Yes, looking back at how backwards things used to be is so frustrating. All these things are 100% electronic now, and even back then they were too, but my boss was old school. So anyway, I called Frank to tell him to come pick up his images, but he didn't answer. I called him again during lunch, but still no answer, so I left a message. The following day I called him again, but still no answer. It was imperative that Frank got his images, or else he wouldn't be able to have his surgery. So I looked in his file to see if he had any other contact information. He listed his home phone number as well as his wife's cell. I called his house and left a message, and I also called his wife, Amy, but she didn't answer either, so I left her a message as well. The office manager, Diane, told me to just call whoever was listed in his emergency contacts, because if Frank didn't get his images and missed his surgery, then she would have to deal with a whole new stack of paperwork to reschedule him, and she didn't want to be bothered. I looked to see if there was an emergency contact, and Frank listed a woman named Helen. Relation to patient? Girlfriend. I told Diane I didn't want to call Helen when I had already left a message for Amy, as it would put me in an awkward position. Diane said that as long as the patient listed them as an emergency contact, I could call them. She also said that it's not uncommon for couples to be separated but still legally married for insurance reasons, and that this could possibly be the case for Frank and Amy, which I guess made sense. I really wanted to believe that no one would be stupid enough to put their secret lover as their emergency contact. I didn't want to get fired for being insubordinate, so I called Helen and she actually answered her phone. I was secretly hoping she wouldn't, and told her Frank's images needed to be picked up prior to his surgery. She came by during lunch, got the images, and then left. I immediately called Frank again to let him know that Helen picked up his images and to not worry about it. But this fool wasn't answering his phone, so I left him another message. A couple hours later, Amy called back and said she wasn't able to answer before because she was teaching, but she got our message and was coming to pick up Frank's images now that school was done for the day. I told her that the images had already been picked up. I tried to be as vague as possible. Amy, who picked them up? I know Frank is still busy at his office and hasn't had the chance to come get them. Me, again, trying to sound really vague. We called someone from his emergency contact list. Amy, was it his brother, Steve? Me, at this point I'm really nervous. No, not his brother. Well, then who? Me, Helen. Amy, who is Helen? I don't know anyone named Helen. Me, I'm not sure, but since she was on Frank's emergency contact list and no one else was answering their phone, we called her and she already came and got the images. Confused, Amy hung up. The following day was Frank's surgery. The day after Frank's surgery, my boss jokingly asked me, "What the heck did you do to that guy?" He came in all upset at me, saying that my secretary told his wife about his other girlfriend. I told my boss what happened and that Diane told me to call the girlfriend, and he understood. Diane tried to throw me under the bus by saying I didn't tell her that Helen was Frank's girlfriend and that I had told her Helen was just a friend and that she never would have given me the green light to call a patient's mistress. But I reminded her in front of my boss that she had said it was possible for Frank and Amy to be married but separated. This jerk was trying to cover herself because she probably thought it was some kind of HIPAA violation, but nothing ever happened. I was 18 years old at the time and just did whatever my superiors told me because I was really thirsty for job security after college, but I ended up not working there and went to work at a hospital instead. Am I the jerk for asking my nanny who's employing who here? I've had a nanny for 6 months. For the most part, I like her. She's great to the kids, 18 months and 5. But recently, I feel like we've had some issues where she's crossing boundaries. I don't mind getting advice, but I also feel like my house isn't being respected. For example, my kids' rooms are pretty much toy-free outside of their comfort objects. I want the rooms to be a place of rest, not playing. I told my nanny, please don't let my daughter play in her crib. She agreed, but later I come home and my daughter is in there with toys. We have a playpen downstairs if she needs to be contained, and the nanny is just watching her play. I gently reminded her a few times that I don't want toys in the bedroom, and she said okay, but it had happened again. Then on Monday I saw it and said, hey, let's take her downstairs. and she snapped at me saying, "She just woke up." I thought that was weird, but I let it go. Fighting it was an off day. I recently took my son's 5 Hot Wheels tracks away as a punishment. This was a last resort after talking lots and getting nowhere. I put them in the hall closet and said they'd be gone for 2 days. Let the nanny know the next day. She straight up told me that she didn't think that was a good idea. I said I appreciated her advice, but that I felt it was the right course of action. I come home that night and he's playing with them. I wait until my kids are with my husband to talk to her about it and ask why she undermined my authority. I asked if my son had asked for the tracks or was being mopey. No, she just felt like he had been good enough to get them back. I sat her down and said I wasn't happy with how she had been bending rules. She said she just didn't agree with them. I asked, "Who's employing who here? I need you to back me up." She got quiet and then left for the day. Well, today I get a text that she's quitting. She says me throwing that I was the boss back in her face was an overstep. My husband is saying what I did was wrong too. The kids and I will miss her, but I'm torn. Am I the jerk? ETA. Many have found my no toys in the bedroom rule weird. Let me explain. I used to split it. Half toys in my son's room, half in our playroom. Then he started waking up and playing with toys rather than sleeping. He got no sleep, so we moved the toys downstairs and he's been fine ever since. They can play in their rooms, but the toys go back downstairs at bedtime. They're also not just sectioned to the playroom. They play in the den, the kitchen, the yard. They just don't have toys outside their favorite stuffed animals while sleeping. Most of my kids' day is play. They're not neglected, they just sleep when it's time to sleep. ETA 2. I also never said this is how all families should work. It's how my family works. Everyone is different. Well, who do you agree with? OP or the nanny? Please let us know. Let me know if you need me to write a Yelp review for her. I'll make her pay for her insubordinance. New host throws in my face that he makes more money than me and says he's my boss when he's not. So, I'm honestly really speechless right now. It's the middle of the night for me and my mind is still reeling. I'm honestly a little heartbroken. I love my job. I love working in the industry I do. But this has taken the cake for me. I'm a server/host for work. I'm currently working 3 jobs to just make ends meet for me. At my one job where I've been hosting, it's a new restaurant. I was promised by the GM to be a server a month after opening, which would have been mid-August. He's been telling me to just wait until he hires more people, so I waited. And now it's been almost 3 full months. We hit the 1-month mark when we finally hired a new host. We have 3 girls, but they can't work weekdays due to school. He was a slightly older man who was retired but enjoyed working. I trained him on the computer system we use, just like I trained all of our other hosts. I'm making $10 an hour. I was told by the owner 2 weeks in he wants to give me a raise. By the month time frame, I checked with the GM on it, and he said they want to raise the host pay, but can't at the moment. I'm like, okay, I get it. We're new, no big deal. I can make do for a little. Now the GM decided to make the male host the matter day. Essentially, he wants the host to check on tables and make sure the service is running smoothly. Now, being the fact that I'm the lead host, I make the schedule for us weekly. I make his schedule as well. I'm doing so. I noticed he was making significantly more than me when he was only scheduled 4 more hours than myself. I confront my boss immediately, and he tells me it's a glitch in the system, and no, he doesn't make more than me, but that the agreement apparently is how I either serve or have a raise. I shut my mouth because I know serving here would be good money. This was 3 weeks ago. Tonight, the host and I worked together. I set the floor plan up and went over it as normal with my manager. I'm running the floor as I always do, and the host is seating for me. Later in the night, he comes up to ask about a table who requested outside but booked inside. I have nothing for them outside, as we were booked out and it's a 5 top. We need 2 tables for it. The host proceeds to tell me that we just seat them at 1 table, which I would do normally, but I have another 5 top that is booked for outside, and I know they didn't want to feel cramped. I explain and essentially say no. He tries to tell me what I need to do. I veto him by explaining I spoke with the guest myself and our manager. The guest would have to seat inside, and if another table opens outside, I would happily do so. So my outside booking guest comes in, and I see that the tables I set aside for them were split. I go outside and ask the host nicely to put them back, please, as the guest doesn't want to be cramped. The conversation as follows. Him. Well, did you even really ask if they were okay sitting at one table? Me. Yes, I just spoke with them again and they said no. Like I said earlier, the other guest booked inside and made a request for outside. She made the booking after the outside was filled, so no, she has to come inside. And I spoke with her before and she said it's fine. I will admit, I said it a little harshly as my patience was running very thin. Him. Look here, girl. I'm the boss of you, and I make more money than you. You don't tell me what to do. Me. Excuse me? No crap. I know you make more, and that's BS. I've been here for 3 months busting my butt. Me and the other 2 hosts deserved a raise before you, and you're not my boss. I pretty much yelled at him without alerting guests. I went inside and went straight to my manager. We didn't speak much, but I made it clear I know what's going on. He unlocked the office to let me cool down as I was literally shaking. I've been busting my butt at this job. I trained all the hosts. I put my other job to the side to meet them first. When they cut lunches for the schedule, I started doing deliveries to make ends meet. My boss knows I'm going broke and lied to my face. And the fact that a man thinks just because he makes more than me that he's my boss? My manager told him to his face that he is not my boss. Only manager and owner are. And the fact he even thinks it's appropriate to throw that in someone's face? I couldn't believe it. I have an interview tomorrow for a better company. I have an outstanding reference from one of their own bar managers whom I worked with before. I'm willing to quit my job to start fresh and new. I don't like doing that. I always put my 2 weeks in, but I refuse to be any person's doormat. Edit to add. So I just left the interview and the manager I spoke with absolutely loves me. She wasn't able to pull up my resume, so I was able to speak with her more in person in depth about my experience and my growth in the industry. She said she can't wait to pass me over to the general manager and to expect a call from them tomorrow or by the latest Monday. Yay! And from what she was describing to me, along with my friend, they foster a very family-positive environment. The owners are very involved and happy to train for positional growth, and I will actually have benefits at this job, which will be nice. Am I the jerk for being upset and leaving when my sister-in-law stole my pregnancy announcement? I, 36 female, found out that I'm pregnant. I'm overjoyed as I've always wanted a child of my own. I focused on my career in my life, and since I am single, I wasn't sure if having a baby would ever happen. I was excited to tell my family the big news. My older sister has 1 kid, my nephew, who's 7. My brother is married, but he and his wife have made it very clear that they will always be child-free. Last night we had a family dinner, and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to share the news. Since this will be my only child, I wanted to make it special, and I also wanted to involve my nephew. I got a shirt that read, "This is what an awesome big cousin looks like." I slipped away with my nephew before dinner and had a special moment with him while I told him he was going to have a cousin. My nephew was very excited and put on the shirt. He put his sweater on over it, and I told him he could take the sweater off whenever he wanted at dinner. In the middle of dinner, he took off the sweater and waited for someone to notice. Soon, my sister jumped up and excitedly screamed when she saw the shirt. They all then immediately assumed it was my sister-in-law. I wasn't hurt by them assuming this, and I kind of expected it because she's married. I was hurt because my sister-in-law didn't try to correct them. She just went along with it and began to rub her flat belly while laughing. I must have looked completely hurt because my mother yelled at me to stop being rude and to congratulate them. I tried to explain that I was the one who gave my nephew the shirt. They all didn't even hear me and just continued to fawn over my sister-in-law. My brother stood frozen in shock, just asking his wife if she was serious. I got up and went home. I received multiple texts at this point from them telling me what a jerk I was for making this about me. They said things like, "It wasn't sister-in-law's fault that I was jealous." I didn't reply to anything and just cried myself to sleep. This morning, my sister-in-law must have finally let it slip that she's not pregnant. They have now all called me to apologize, saying that they just got caught up in the moment. They said I shouldn't have left the dinner and that it's my fault I wasn't clear enough that I was the one who was pregnant. My mom said I could have a redo dinner so I can get it right, and they will all act surprised. My sister-in-law sent me a message that said the way I chose to announce was how she wanted to do it if she ever got pregnant. She said that since she's not ever having a kid, that she just wanted to experience what the moment would be like. She also said I can have my chance at the redo dinner. I told them no, and I will not be doing a redo. Every single person has now told me I'm being selfish and a jerk because I won't let them make it right. To me, there's no fixing this. I will eventually forgive them, but I don't want to do a second announcement so they will feel better. Am I the jerk? Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or not? Please let us know. Karen tries to cut me in line, gets shut down. This happened to me back in the day at Wally World. It was a very busy day. My husband and I had just finished our shopping, so I was standing in line waiting to cash out. Now the lines were very long, really long. There's at least 8 people behind me, and I was probably at least the 4th person before the cashier in line. My husband stepped away to find some beverages for us to drink on the way home since it was still warm outside. This lady, our Karen of the story, was standing near the coolers that are near the registers. She was acting like she was looking in the coolers for something. She put her hand on my card as if to steady herself, so I moved my card back just a smidge so she could look in the cooler without having to touch my card. I tried to just ignore her. I'm not the type of person who likes to converse with people I do not know. I have severe social anxiety. She continues to look in the coolers, but lets go of my card. The line continues to move slowly, but I'm now at least 3rd in line. So you can understand, the Karen never said a word to me. She continues to look in the cooler as if she's looking for something. Now, for some ungodly reason, Karen firmly grabs the end of my cart, holds onto it, yells to someone, and motions for them to come over. I looked over to see what looked to be a neckbeard. He was probably at least 6 feet tall, every bit of 300 pounds, and actually had a neckbeard. I really wish I was making this up, but I am not. Karen says to Neckbeard, "Come over here, right here," as she motions for him to get in front of me. Now, this Karen never once said a word to me, nor did she even ask if she could get in front of me. I turned around and looked to see that there is at least 12 people standing in line behind me. Karen's neckbeard had a cart that was overflowing and was expecting to get in front of me without asking. I did the only thing that I could do. I pushed my cart forwards and said, "Nope, nope, nope." Karen takes her hand off my cart, steps back like I just ran over her foot, and stands there with a surprised Pikachu face, with her lips flapping open and closed. She then looked around to see if anyone would help, looking panicked as if she needed help, but no one would help her. I happened to overhear the lady behind me say, "Darn right," as she closed the gap between us. I also saw the man behind her as he moved forward to close the gap. He was just shaking his head. I heard a few chuckles from the crowd that was watching all of this. No one was going to stand up for Karen. An injustice had been done to her, but no one was going to help her. Neckbeard then says to her, "But Mom, the line is long. Where do I go?" Karen just says, "Let's go down here," and walks away with Neckbeard. I never laughed so hard in my life. I could not believe that I acted so quickly to stop her. Proved to my manager that it's better to warn customers of closing time. I used to work at a store that was open until 2 a.m. every night of the week. So, as you can imagine, when 2 a.m. rolled around, I was always ready to get out of there. Around 1:45 a.m., I would walk around and let each customer know individually that the store was closing in 15 minutes and ask them if they needed help finding anything before then. I did this for about 4 months working there and never had a problem, other than the occasional super rude customer who would completely ignore me and keep shopping until like 2:30 or 3 or whatever. Or occasionally, especially on weekends, drunk people would come in after 2 a.m. and just ignore that we were closed because we weren't allowed to lock the door or turn anyone away. Usually I was alone by 1:45 since business really slows down, but one night my manager was still there. When she saw me go up and tell customers the store was closing in 15 minutes, she was mad. She told me I could never tell a customer the store was closing. She said it was incredibly rude and put too much pressure on them. Fast forward to a few weeks later. I've still been giving customers a 15-minute heads up because frankly, I don't think it's rude to tell someone your store is about to close, especially at 2 a.m. Here is when I see my opportunity. A lady had come in around 12 a.m. She seemed pretty out of it and was wandering around the store aimlessly the whole time, but occasionally bringing something to the counter, asking me to hold it, then coming back and asking me to put it back because she changed her mind. I had the feeling she could spend all night wandering around the store, so I decided that this would be the one customer I wouldn't warn about closing. 2 a.m. rolls around and I say nothing, and I proceed to say nothing all the way until 4:45 a.m. when she finally leaves the store. I literally got a call at 8 a.m. the next day from my manager, furious that I had closed the store almost at 5 a.m. I innocently told her that the lady was still busy shopping the whole time, and I remind her that it's extremely rude to tell a customer the store is closed. The next night when I went in for my shift, they had made the 15-minute warning a universal rule. We were all supposed to warn customers the store was closing. Plus, we were supposed to turn people away if they showed up after 2 a.m. Score. Afterward, I admitted to my other coworkers I had done it intentionally to show management how dumb their decision was. And I'm glad I did it, because we never had to let another person into the store after 2 a.m. again. Entitled mom demands I buy her and her kids food. Just putting this out there, that if I knew beforehand that this entire thing would happen, I'd still let it happen. There's a local burger place in my area that I visit regularly. It's normally empty during the week, but on this day, for whatever reason, there were a few more people in there than usual. I was with a close friend, we'll call him Carlos. I just wanted to hang out with him and get some food. We're standing in the line and talking for about 2 minutes when entitled mom and her 2 boys, I'd guess they were about 10, walk up behind us. One kid starts fussing and whining that he's hungry, and this seemingly triggers the other kid to do the same. Carlos and I just shrug it off and eventually get up to the front of the line and we order our food. Carlos orders before me, but I let the cashier know that I'd be paying for both mine and his meal. This was a mistake. Before I even get my wallet out, entitled mom shoves me out of the way and says, "I'd like to add to his order," and proceeds to order over $40 worth of food for her and her 2 kids. I asked her what she thought she was doing, and she said, "I saw you pay for that guy, Carlos, so I'm sure you wouldn't mind buying food for a single mother and her 2 kids." Normally, I would have considered that if she, asked first, but who in their right mind thinks it's okay to do what she did? I tell her that I won't be doing paying for any of her food and that she's setting a bad example for her kids by trying to get free stuff from people. That comment upset her, and she started getting all up in my face. I'm not sure if that was meant to intimidate me, but I'm 6'2", and that lady was no taller than 5'5". She raised her voice, saying, "Don't you dare tell me how to parent my kids. You have no idea what it's like being a single mom and raising 2 boys on your own." I retort, saying, "Yeah, you're right. I don't know what that's like. But I wasn't the one who told you to get knocked up. Twice. So I really don't want to hear your single mom excuse for being a jerk." "Who the heck do you think you are talking to me like that?" The guy who up to 2 minutes ago you had no problem trying to spend his money?" "I work 2 darn jobs to provide for my kids, and you think it's okay to stand here and disrespect me?" "You disrespected me by cutting in front of me and assuming that you'd get free food from me. I don't know what world you're living in, but you need to come back to Earth." "Me and my kids are hungry, and you can't even be nice and help us out?" "You literally ordered $40 worth of food for yourself and 2 kids at possibly the cheapest place in town. That isn't just helping out. And you and your kids being hungry still doesn't make you entitled to free food. You pay just like everyone else in here." Entitled mom stopped shouting. "I don't have any money. How would you feel if you were in my situation?" "Listen, lady, you're not getting free food off me. If you just asked, I would have been more inclined to be nice and help you. But you clearly think that being a single mom with 2 kids is supposed to make everyone around you do whatever you say, and the world doesn't work that way. So pay for your own food and stop wasting my time." Entitled mom just looked at me angrily and didn't answer. At this point, everyone in the restaurant is looking and listening to the conversation. My buddy Carlos is about ready to sock her, and the people behind us in line are hungry and clearly unhappy. I tell the cashier to remove whatever she ordered, and I pay for my food. I thought that would be the end of it, but boy, was I wrong. Entitled mom orders her food again after, and angrily forks over the money she clearly had and pays for all her food. Carlos looks at me and asks, "What the heck just happened?" To which I respond, "Your guess is as good as mine, bro." We get our food and are about to leave when entitled mom shouts out, "Those 2 guys harassed me." And we turn to see the manager of the restaurant. She goes on to say that I harassed her and she wanted the cops called on me immediately. This lady clearly forgot that the entire store witnessed the entire thing and no one was having it any longer. I didn't need to say much to defend myself to him before the entirety of the store started shouting and screaming at her for holding up the line and falsely accusing me of things. I'm pretty sure the lady got scared because without collecting her food, she took her 2 kids and ran out of the store. Carlos and I looked at each other and started dying of laughter, and a few other people did as well. We apologized to the manager and everyone else for the inconvenience and left the store. We haven't stopped laughing about it since then. Karen left me to babysit all night while she partied, was furious when I billed her for the extra time. I got asked by a ton of people for more stories about my entitled sister, so here's one for you. Remembering this one, it still irks me to this day all these years later. This happened when my nephew was just a year old, so like 7 years ago. My sister, entitled Mom, asked me to babysit my nephew for her and brother-in-law for a few hours so they could go to the Mardi Gras parades together. I said I was making plans that night, so I couldn't, but she begged me to help her because they had not had a date night since nephew was born, and they needed some time alone together as a couple. I begrudgingly said I would, but only if they paid me $15 per hour, because watching a baby is hard, and I turned down plans for this. We, me, sis, and brother-in-law, all agreed on that, so I was set to come over there Saturday night. I showed up at 5 p.m. Parades were to start at 6 p.m. I think, and they both said they would be back no later than 10 p.m., so $75. I was allowed to watch TV, use their Wi-Fi, and eat and drink whatever was in the fridge, but sis said I better not go nuts on their food. Wonderful jab at my weight. Thanks, sis. Then brother-in-law comes in with nephew and hands him off to me. I make sure to reiterate they are both coming back at 10, and I ask for payment up front, but sis says they're going to have to stop at an ATM on the way back. They don't have any cash on them. I'm annoyed, but say alright. I ask if they're going to be drinking and how they'll get back if they are, and also drive me home, cause our mom drove me to their place so I was stuck. And sister says, of course we're not, but I don't believe her. She can't have fun without a beer. But while she's getting her jacket, brother-in-law says he's not drinking anything, but she probably will, so he'll be the designated driver. At least there's that. I bid them goodbye and settle in with my nephew. I play with him for hours, put on his favorite cartoons, and feed him dinner and change him, etc. All the usual stuff. I'm not a stranger to babysitting for relatives, so this isn't new for me. But nephew is hard to get to sleep. He wants his mom and dad. This had been the first time he had gone to sleep without them there, and cried for almost an hour, no matter the different ways I tried to soothe him, before eventually wearing himself out and falling asleep at almost 9 p.m. I was tired, but glad I was almost done for the night. 10 p.m. rolled around, nothing. Then it got to be 10:30, so I called sis to see what the holdup was. She answered, and I could tell she'd been drinking. She was giggly, and after I asked where they were, she said they were looking for her shoe. And she said something about how they ran into our cousin, another entitled person. Great. And they were totally heading back ASAP. I said to hurry up, and she said something I literally couldn't understand before she hung up on me. 11 p.m. rolled around, and still nothing, so I called her back. It rang and rang before going to voicemail. She ended the call instead of answering. I try again, and it rings even less this time before going to voicemail. She turned her phone off, or it died. I call her again, and the same result. I can't call brother-in-law because I don't have his phone number. Never had to call him before. I consider calling our mom to see if she can get in touch with sis, but it's past 11 p.m. at this point, so I know she's asleep by now, so I don't bother. I don't want to wake her up unless there's an actual emergency. Plus, nephew woke up at some point around then, so I had to pause trying to contact my sis and focus on getting him calmed down and sleeping again. Took a while, but he fell right asleep after I started scratching his back. A legit trick to get kids to sleep, knocks them right out. So then I wait. They finally roll up at nearly 1:30 a.m. I'm upset by this point and tired. Just want to get paid and crawl into bed. I'd been up since 8 a.m., so I was really tired. Brother-in-law and sis stumble in. She's barefoot with her shoes in one hand and laughing loudly. I come ask them what took so long, and sis starts going on about how great a time they had, how they hung out with cousin, and she pulls these stupid unopened tubes of Mardi Gras streamers out of her purse, opens them, and then flings them everywhere, loudly talking about the stuff they caught while I try to shush her. Nephew is asleep, and I don't want him waking up again. She starts handing me all this crap from her purse that she said she got just for me, so don't be mad at me, okay? Like that junk would make her leaving me stranded at her place for almost twice as long as she had promised would make everything better. The stuff was just a bunch of smushed moon pies, tons of beads, plastic cups, and other junk. I said thanks, but told them I wanted to go home. Sis waved me off and said to brother-in-law to take me home before going and flopping down onto the couch to sleep, I guess. I get my stuff, and brother-in-law takes me home, and I remind him to stop at an ATM, and he sorta sighs. Like, I get he was probably tired from dealing with my drunk sister for hours, but I needed my payment. He stops at a drive-through ATM, looks at me and says, "All right, $75, right?" Not proud of this, but I actually let out a loud, "Ha ha," and said that no, it would have been $75 if they had come home at 10, like they had said, but they showed up at almost 2 a.m., 3 hours late. So they owed me $125. He didn't look happy, but he got the money out and gave me my pay before silently driving me home. I went to bed exhausted, but $125 richer. Next day around noon, sis called me furious I'd conned brother-in-law out of so much money when we had all agreed on them paying me $75. I asked if she was still drunk because what we had all agreed on was that I'd be paid $15 per hour, and they left me with their son for 8 hours. I also mentioned how she had said they wouldn't be drinking. She replied that she had been joking. Of course she was going to drink. It was Mardi Gras. I said I got paid for the work I did, but she kept arguing that I didn't really work for it because nephew was asleep most of the time I was there. I said it didn't matter. I was still sitting for her, and how you'd be expected to pay a security guard to sit and do nothing even if things were calm while he was on the clock. She yelled that that wasn't the same thing, and we argued back and forth with her saying I should have done it for free. He's family. You should want to be around him. I finally got fed up and said that next time she could hire some other sitter because I won't do it, or try to get some other family member to watch nephew for free, a fat chance, before hanging up. I didn't want to argue with a potentially hungover nuisance. She tried running to our mom about this, but mom told her that she needed to not hire babysitters if she couldn't afford to pay them. Sis called me the next day and said she told all of her friends that I was crappy and took advantage of them being late by charging them a ton more, and that none of them would hire me to babysit after this. I didn't really care because her friends are losers that I have no relationship with. Plus, I only babysat for one a handful of times, and her kids are loud as heck to boot, so no real loss there. I didn't babysit after that at her place ever again. I would only babysit if I was paid up front and would take nephew, and niece later, out somewhere and then drop them off with her when the allotted time was over so she couldn't leave them with me for longer. Would you babysit for a family member if they asked you to? And if so, would you charge them for it? Please let us know. Force me to pay and I'll leave you a bad review on Yelp. Am I the jerk for asking a customer, "Why are you even in here?" and embarrassing them? I own a small business, specifically a card and gaming shop. We sell a plethora of gaming cards like Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, various sports cards, everything in between. We also carry a wide variety of t-shirts related to card games, sports cards, anime, etc., and have a huge gaming area where we hold card game tournaments where customers can come play board games or whatever they'd like. So what happened? This guy comes in the other day. I greet him and he starts looking around. After a few minutes, I tell him to let me know if there's anything I can help with. He then starts pointing at stuff and asking some high-key offensive/rude questions. Here are some examples of specific things he asked/said. Him: "Holy cow, are those Pokemon cards? I thought those things went extinct a long time ago." Me: "Yeah, we have packs, boxes, starter decks, and they're actually really popular the past few years." Him: "Wow, so parents buy these for their kids to shove in a bike spoke?" I said something about how people of all ages play competitively. We even host tournaments. Him looking at the shirts: "How much are the shirts? Actually, never mind. Some of them look cool, but I wouldn't want anyone to think I'm into this crap." Me: "Well, they're $16.99. Him: "So, those are the cartoons that all those emo kids watch?" Looking at the anime section. At this point, I was getting extremely uncomfortable with him crapping all over my store and effectively the customers I serve on a daily basis. Then he walks past the empty table section where we usually host card game tournaments. We're not hosting any tournaments until certain restrictions lift, and says loudly, "So, do the neckbeards have to rent a seat or something to play, or do you just let them mooch off of the store's AC while they play?" At this point, he had been in the store for well over 30 minutes and had said/asked several disrespectful/offensive questions and statements, and I had had enough. I had customers in the store, and I was getting upset that he was potentially making them feel uncomfortable or like they were somehow losers just because they have these hobbies, because that's how I was feeling. I let out a big sigh and said, "Why are you even in a gaming shop if you hate everything about cards and gaming?" He was very clearly embarrassed, spent a few awkward silent minutes walking back around, and left out the door. I consciously didn't say goodbye or anything because I didn't want it to come out like, "Have a nice day," in the "forget you" type of tone. My employee told me it was rude of me to say that to him, and I probably made him feel like he wasn't welcome in our hobby community when it's supposed to be all-inclusive, which I preach to my employees religiously. I think I might be the jerk for how I handled it, but I feel like I was justified after the things he said. Am I the jerk for saying what I said and embarrassing him? Edit 1. This was a buff, decently attractive 30-something-year-old, if that matters. Not some super out of touch with times older person. Older folks come in all the time, and if they don't get the hobby, I just try my best to explain it. But they're never walking around calling everything dumb. Edit 2. I'm a woman, if that matters to anyone. Edit 3. I'm heavily and obviously pregnant, so I doubt it has anything to do with his trying to weirdly spark a convo with me. But I've been wrong before. Well, what do you think? Was OP a jerk to say that to the customer or not? Please let us know. Poor Chad, he was just looking for the baseball cards. If you wanted fries, you should have ordered them. I used to work for a very popular burger and shake chain. They're so famous that I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. While most people seem to hate drive-thru, I actually enjoyed it. It's fun seeing the look on people's faces when they realize that you actually know how to do your job and made sure they got their order exactly as they ordered it. After struggling my entire life with drive-thru attendants who 80% of the time can't seem to figure out that ketchup only means don't put anything other than ketchup on it if you don't want to have to remake the whole thing and waste all that food, I made sure to be one of the 20% who made sure you got your food exactly how you ordered it. Unfortunately, I figured out very quickly that it's not always the attendant's fault and that not everyone was as specific as I was taught to be when ordering food. Fortunately, I developed a system. Repeat the order exactly how they asked for it and use very specific phrasing to make sure they know what they just ordered. By doing so, I was able to help people catch it when they ordered something wrong so they could correct themselves. Customer: "Can I get a mushroom burger with a Coke?" Me: "Okay, so was that a mushroom burger by itself and a Coke? Anything else?" Customer: "Oh, can I get fries with that?" Me: "Absolutely. Let me just make that a number 8 combo meal to save you some money." I know most places will ask you if you want fries with that, but we were told that corporate didn't want us to upsell because we had found that customers found it more annoying than helpful. For the most part, it worked, but there was one guy who just could not take a hint. I can't even remember how many times I had this guy come through my drive-thru, and every time he would order it exactly the same way. Let's call him Cranky Fry Guy. Me: "Welcome to our restaurant. May I take your order?" Cranky Guy: "I want a double cheeseburger and a Coke." Me: "Would you like anything on that?" "I want everything on it." Me: "Okay, so that was a double cheeseburger by itself with everything on it and a Coke. Is that correct?" "Yes." Me: "Okay, that'll be this much. Please pull around." Every single time he would order it like this, and every single time I would respond as specifically as possible. Then he'd drive around and I'd hand him his food. Crazy Guy: "Where's my fries?" Me: "I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say you wanted fries." It's supposed to come with the meal." Me: "I'm sorry, sir, you didn't order a combo meal, but I can ring you up for some fries." You'd think he would have learned his lesson from that one experience, but nope. Crazy Guy would come back once every week or so and order the exact same thing, and then get mad at me for ringing it up exactly how he had asked for it. That is, until the very last time I ever saw him. Me: "Welcome to our restaurant. May I take your order?" Crazy Guy: "I want a number 1 with fries combo meal. With fries. With everything on it. With fries and a Coke." Me: Okay, so that was a #1 combo with everything on it and a Coke to drink. Will there be anything else? Make sure it has fries with it. Me, sir, the combo meal comes with fries. Well, anytime I order it, you don't give me any fries. That's going to be this much money. Please pull around. I was more than happy to never see him again after that. Speaking of fast food, what's your favorite fast food place of all time? Please let us know. McDonald's over everything, bruh. Am I the jerk for dropping $600 on vocal lessons for my 13-year-old? So, my baby is 13. She has been saying she wants to be a singer since she was like 3 years old. She loves singing. She's always working on her pitch and watching videos to better her vocal cords. Her father and I split up like 8 years ago, and I never got along with her grandparents either. Important info for this. About a month ago, my daughter came to me extremely upset that she couldn't nail this one piece she had been working on. She said she couldn't get the pitch correctly. I thought she sounded fantastic, but she wasn't satisfied. I don't make a habit of spoiling her. However, this really bothered her, so I went around searching for vocal lessons without her knowing, and the cheapest ones I found were $600 for a 3-week, 4 days a week course, which is actually a fantastic deal. I splurged on it even though it put a bit of a dent in my finances. Last week was her birthday. My ex and I threw a birthday party for her at his place, where her grandparents attended, obviously opening my one single gift, which included her acceptance letter for her vocal lessons. She was so thrilled that she had no interest in anything else that she had received, a brand new iPhone from her grandparents, and a free pass coupon for a manicure and pedicure from her dad. She was so overjoyed upon receiving her gift, and I'm over here like crying because she's so happy that it's getting me. I get dirty looks from every corner. Her grandparents and father pulled me aside like 20 minutes later and said that my gift was ignorant because apparently it was going to teach her that she isn't good enough, and said just because she is Puerto Rican doesn't mean she can't sing. They seriously thought that getting my daughter vocal lessons was going to do nothing but make my daughter even more insecure about her voice, and even said that I was enabling her insecurities because her voice is perfect the way it is. My daughter heard this, unfortunately, and asked me to take her home. She cried a lot, said her dad's family doesn't understand her. Since then, I've gotten texts from her dad telling me to get refunded for the gift because I refuse to pay any child support to make up for the dent you've caused in the finances by purchasing such a stupid gift. Note that he pays $40 a month, and I do just fine without him, so forget that. This gift has now caused a huge dent in the family life. My daughter still loves it, despite her grandparents and father making a big deal. But I now feel like a jerk because her grandparents have said they won't see her unless she gives the gift back. Am I the jerk? Well, who do you agree with? OP or her $40 a month ex? Please let us know. $40 a month? That guy needs to find a better job. Friend orders food and expects everyone else to pay. So this story is from my senior year of high school. I was friends with a girl, let's call her Abby. Abby always was a cheap person when it came to eating at restaurants, but would spend tons of money on clothes and other stuff. One time, me, Abby, and a few other friends went to the movies and decided to go to Applebee's after for half-price appetizers. Being that we were all in high school, we all stuck to a budget. Everyone got water and a half-price appetizer, and one friend didn't get any food at all because she wasn't hungry. Abby decided to order a salad and a lemonade. We didn't think much of it at the time because maybe she hadn't had dinner or something, so was having her dinner then. So it comes time for the bills, and all of our bills are around $4 or $5, and Abby's bill is $15. We're all getting our money sorted when Abby says that she was going to put in $5 for her portion of the meal. We all kind of looked at her and asked what she meant, since we were all paying for our own stuff and had gotten separate bills so we could each pay for our own stuff. Abby then said that she wasn't going to pay her $15 bill and only wanted to put in $5 for her $15 check. We all told her that it wasn't our job to pay for her food when she didn't share it with anyone and could have gotten an appetizer but chose something expensive. She then started slamming her fists on the table and screamed about how her parents want her to save money. I'm pretty sure they meant by not buying what you cannot afford, not by making your friends pay for you. Our friend, who didn't even have a bill, had to put in money to cover her check. When we asked Abby if she had 50 cents, she literally threw it at my friend's head. I wish I could say we just left her there, but I drove everyone. So I drove her home, and she didn't even offer gas money, while all the other friends gave me a few dollars for the ride home. In the grand scheme of it all, it wasn't a huge bill she was trying to stick us with, but it's the principle of the thing. Her entitled behavior made us never invite her out for months on end until she broke down crying and screaming at us about it. Then we all told her why, and she said we were selfish. I'm glad we aren't friends anymore. If you end up reading this, Abby, forget you. Also, I hope your family got caught misusing your brother's disability money. Thank you for the upvotes and comments, everyone. I just wanted to clarify a few things that people have mentioned. I fully intended to leave her there and have her parents come and pay for it, or her coming up with the money. I know she had more than $5 on her, so I seriously considered just grabbing her purse and taking out all the money from it and telling her she had her own dang money to pay for it. Also, some people asked why we paid it all. We honestly were so embarrassed when she started screaming and slamming her fists on the table that we just wanted to get out of there as fast as humanly possible. Also, I've not been friends with Abby for years now. She stopped being my friend after I gave her a birthday gift that she did not think was a worthy gift. I gave her a painted wine glass and she gave me nothing for my birthday. She didn't even say thank you. She threw it back in the bag. She would expect clothes from Versus Pink or something, at least costing $50, but get us stuff from the dollar store. Not really a loss that she decided to block me. She did me a favor, honestly. Forget her. Entitled parent tries to sue me when I defend myself. This story all begins last year, when I was a senior in high school. I have a lot of stories about high school, but those are other posts for different days. Strap in, it's a long story. Here's the cast. We've got Lisa, B's old friend. We've got entitled mom. We've got B, the female dog that hit me. We've got mother. We've got friend, principal. We've got B's boyfriend. We've got me. But when people say my name, I'll be referred to as Alba. So for a start, let me describe myself. I'm a Korean/Irish girl, and I have what people call a ballerina's body. But I have strength in my arms and fists primarily. I also had after this all went down, semi-curly ginger hair that was down my back. I'm pretty extroverted, so I had many friends in school, and B was one of them when I was a sophomore. But when junior year rolled around, I noticed that B was very toxic. She started to control where we would go in the mall when we hung out, where I sat in the cafeteria during lunch, stuff like that. She also acted like she was superior to other people. Many people didn't like her and complained a lot. So naturally, I started to distance myself from her because 1, I didn't like that type of behavior and it was annoying. And 2, I didn't want people I met to associate me with her and think that I acted the same way she did. B did not like this. I guess she liked being in control somewhere in a relationship. B didn't have many friends to work with. So when I started not being her friend, she had nobody to hang out with. During winter break, I learned that she started hanging out with BB, this guy in one of my classes, but I didn't care too much because I didn't know him. By the time we came back from winter break, they were making out in the halls, very touchy and feely. Skip the summer of 2017, I saw B and her boyfriend literally everywhere I went. I went to the fair, and they were there too. I once went to the mall to get a custom-made umbrella for my cousin's birthday. I know, weird, but my cousin has a knack for collecting umbrellas. And lo and behold, B walks in with her boyfriend in tow and walks up to me and says, "Oh, hey Alba, didn't know you'd be here." I was very confused. Now, Redditors, what would a 17-year-old girl and her boyfriend want from a custom shop that only sells umbrellas and other winter items in the middle of summer? And I also knew that she wasn't invited to my cousin's birthday because she didn't even know my cousin. By that point, I was convinced she was following me around. Senior year swings around, and B starts trying to talk to me again, and I was having none of it, considering the obvious reasons. Then, the day before spring break, she said to me, "Alba, I've seen that you've been ignoring me, and I really don't appreciate it. I am such a good friend." Me. Honestly, B, you're really not. You're kind of manipulative. "How can you say that? I'm really good to you." I begged to differ. Then I walked away. She would shoot daggers at me when I saw her after that. And B was also extremely jealous. When B saw her boyfriend talking to a girl, she would walk up to him and say,
How could you cheat on me with this jerk?
Friend, who was still semi-friends with B, had boyfriend's story sent to her by B. Basically, he posted a story on his Snapchat that said, "With the most supportive person in my life," over a picture of him and a girl, and B went nuts. She complained to friend that her boyfriend was cheating on her with who she called that ugly jerkbag. Turns out, that was his sister. Fast forward to May of 2018, when the crippity crap hit the fan. I was partnered up with B's boyfriend in my chemistry class that we had together. B learned about this and went berserk. She had the nerve to come up to me and say,
"Keep your filthy hands off my boyfriend, jerk."
So a week after that happened, B's boyfriend had to come over to my house to finish the last part of the project. Turns out, B was planning to go to the mall with her boyfriend that day, but he had to cancel to come to my house. B was steaming. So the next fateful day, I was in class with her boyfriend and we turned in our project. We were talking about what grade we thought we'd get when B came in with these huge scissors. Neither her boyfriend or me saw her coming. That day, I was wearing my hair in a low ponytail. At this point, I was growing out my hair, and it was very important to me since I had to shave my head in 8th grade after an accident. I had a hard time reviving my locks, and I was proud. Until then. So, on account of friend, who was also in the class, and her boyfriend, she came up behind me, pulled my hair, and cut it to about shoulder length. At first, I didn't know what happened, but when my brain had processed my snip sound, I knew what had happened. I whipped my hair around and stood up, and there was B, holding my hair in one hand and the scissors in the other. Here's the dialogue. Me: "Did you just cut off my hair?" B then dropped my hair on the floor and said,
"That's what you get for messing with my boyfriend, jerk."
Then B proceeded to slap me. It didn't hurt, but I was angry. I looked down at B's hand and it looked like she was getting ready to do it again. So I did what was necessary and I socked her in the nose. All I hear was a deafening crunch and her hitting the ground. Then she started screaming.
"She hit me! Get her arrested!"
Next thing I know, I was in the principal's office, explaining what happened and all my previous experiences with B while waiting for my mom to get to the school. I was also very emotional because all my hard work to grow out my hair had been foiled. Principal: "So, what you're saying is that B came into the room, cut off your hair, and slapped you because you were doing things with BB, correct?" Me: "Yes, that's about right." "Okay, so how about you wait here for your mother?" 10 minutes later, my mom walks in and starts getting angry when she sees my hair, because she knows how long it took to grow it all back. The principal quickly briefs the situation to her, and she gets even more heated. Basically, I was suspended for a week. I still don't know why I was suspended, even though I was just defending myself. We were told to come to the school for a meeting with B and her family and all the witnesses the next day. So the next day we walk in, and we are guided to a big conference room with a big rectangular table in it. We were seated directly across from B and entitled Mom. They were both shooting us dirty looks. Also, there was friend, B's boyfriend, another friend of B, and the principal. Principal recounts B's side of the story first. She accused me of attacking her. When the principal asked why was my hair cut off, B says that she grabbed scissors and cut off my hair so I would stop. There are many reasons why that makes no sense, such as the fact that when the principal came into the room, she was still laying on the floor, so there's no way she could have cut off my hair after I socked her. Also, 26 other people told that she attacked me first. Then entitled Mom speaks up.
"That wild animal attacked my daughter and broke her nose. She deserves to be in jail."
Then my mom spoke up.
"No, your daughter attacked mine and cut off her hair."
"That's not true. My little angel is innocent." Friend: "I saw B cut off all of Alba's hair, so that's not true."
"This is BS. You just paid all these people to lie about this."
B's boyfriend: "It's true. B attacked Alba first, then Alba defended herself." B:
"You're supposed to be my boyfriend and support me."
B's boyfriend: "Not anymore. I am breaking up with you."
"What?"
B then starts bawling her eyes out, and I was trying to hold in my laughter. So was friend, entitled Mom.
You don't have any proof that B did anything.
Lisa. Actually, that's why I'm here. I recorded everything. Turns out B told Lisa what she was doing, and Lisa had enough of B's crap and recorded everything she had done. Lisa then played the video, and it clearly displayed my side of the story to a T, entitled Mom.
This video is doctored to make B look bad.
Principal. Well, everyone and everything says otherwise, entitled Mom. Principal then turns to me and asks, would you like to press charges against her? Of course, I said yes. Principal then reached out to the police and lets me and my mom file a complaint and press charges and stuff. This part is kind of blurry. The Sunday before I get to go back to school, my mom gets a letter in the mail telling me that we're being sued for $50,000 for assault. We immediately got an attorney and looked into this. Entitled Mom was accusing me of assault and harassment against B, which is ridiculously untrue. Additional information. I ended up pressing charges for assault and stuff like that, and I'm pretty sure she got 4 months and community service. She also got expelled from school, and she does online now. I didn't want to give her max punishment because I want her to have a chance in life and be able to become a better person and get a job. I was gonna tell you guys what I did against her when we went to court, but someone wanted to know. I also found out that the court date is in a week. I've been reading the comments, and some of you said to countersue, and I've decided to just do that. I just need to gather my case, and if I win, I will 100% do the worm. Am I the jerk for letting an acquaintance go homeless after she caused a scene at my BFF's baby shower? Hey everyone, my best friend from birth, Eliza, had a baby 2 years ago. Me and my boyfriend, husband as of 2 weeks, were the obvious choice of godparents because her husband and mine are first cousins. As godparents, we decided to throw her a baby shower / gender reveal. So the party is planned and we have family and friends over. Me and Eliza have mutual friends, one of them who caused a scene. Eliza's mom is from a Southeast Asian culture and we played all the baby-related games, etc. Then it was time for the balloon popping, aka gender reveal. The cake was also the same color. One of our friends, Ellie is a trans woman, was in the kitchen complaining to my boyfriend about how she didn't know it was a gender reveal and how she wouldn't have attended or wasted money on a present if she knew she was supporting small-minded people. I was unapologetic because it was obviously a gender reveal party too. We had a pin your vote at boy or girl board in front of the doorway. It's literally the first thing you'd see when you enter. Also, the Facebook name of the event was in a different language, which roughly translates to Celebration of Womanhood / Pregnancy. Eliza's mom explained the cultural significance to guests. So, in her defense, we didn't mention the gender reveal or baby shower. She got louder, and she generally likes attention, and my husband was mad at her because she was insulting the party. He asked her to leave if she meant to cause trouble, and she got mad, so he was like, please leave. None of us wanted Eliza to get hurt, and I didn't want Ellie to cause a scene, so I didn't speak up when my boyfriend kicked her out. Our families were there, and I didn't want arguments. The rest of the party went by smoothly, and mom and dad ended up with a pink balloon and cake. News spread about this, and Ellie also posted a rant on Facebook and Twitter, which confirmed to our other friends that she wasn't kicked out unfairly. She's still invited to places by most girls, but not by Eliza and me. I filled Eliza in the next day when she asked why Ellie left early. If Ellie can't wish well for my goddaughter, she has no place in my home. We still are civil though. She's not cut off. A few days ago, Ellie contacted me about losing her job and she has no place to live. Everyone else has at least 2 kids, and I'm the only one without kids. She said she doesn't have a place to live and how me and my husband should let her have a spare bedroom. I told her I'd think about it, but I'd have to ask him. My husband is vehemently against this because we just got married and he thinks we should have the house to just us for at least a year. I agree with him, but I feel bad for Ellie. Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you let Ellie live with you or not? Please let us know.
I'd give her a ride to the nearest bridge she can live under. How's that for small-minded?
Why you should always be nice to potential hires. My wife and I moved to our current city back in 2013. The standards for my wife's job here are different to the standard back home. She has an associate's degree, and most employers wanted a bachelor's degree. However, nothing could stop her, and she kept putting in applications. One day, one of the employers she had sent applications to called her back. However, it was not to tell her she had gotten the job. Instead, it was the manager telling her how unprofessional it was of her to put in for positions that were obviously above her. In fact, I'm going to delete your email from our system. Please don't apply anymore. It's just a waste of our time. I'll send you a letter since you just can't seem to follow directions in my emails. My wife, after she got over her initial shock, asked the manager for her name. I don't see why it matters, but Ivanka Tulip. My wife said thank you and continued her job hunt. Sure enough, she got the letter in the mail asking her not to apply anymore, citing inability to follow clear directions. My wife held on to this letter. I told her to throw it away, but she insisted on keeping it. Eventually, my wife landed a job at one of the biggest employers in the city. Not only that, but this employer was the main supply of business to the employer that was so rude to my wife. Well, my wife is an extremely precocious and hardworking person and eventually got her bachelor's and then became the manager over her crew. One of the manager's responsibilities was to decide who to send business to. My wife told her boss about the letter and what happened and used that as justification that if this is how a business treats potential hires, then they really shouldn't be trusted with their business. Her boss honestly probably didn't even care very much and just let my wife do what she does. Honestly, my wife is kind of a jerk, and it wouldn't surprise me if her boss just gave her whatever it took to keep her happy. Wouldn't you know, the rude employer's business went way down. In fact, my wife would only give them business if they were the last ones who could be called. This led to the most awesome meeting my wife has had this year. You see, to improve the relations, the crappy employer set up a meeting with my wife and my wife's boss and the crappy business top management. They needed this meeting to show how much value they could add. The day of the meeting comes and everyone introduces themselves. Finally, Mrs. Tulip says she is the manager and how nice it was to meet everyone. That's when my wife said, "Excuse me, I just want to be certain. Are you Mrs. Ivanka Tulip?" Ivanka. "Yes, that's me." My wife. "Oh, excellent. I'm so happy to finally meet you in person." Thinking she had an in with my wife, Mrs. Tulip was over the moon. My wife let them carry on and tell her all about how much value they could add to the business and how they could really help out my wife's employer. This is when my wife says, "Well, thank you, but unfortunately, I feel that we can't really give business to an employer who we feel has some ethical issues that need to be addressed. Big boss from bad employers." "Excuse me? We were not made aware of any ethical issues. What are you talking about?" That's when my wife brought out the letter that was signed by Mrs. Tulip. My wife then tells them that if they treat potential hires this way, then it was an ethics issue for my wife, and it would be very hard for my wife to give them business. Since she had concerns about the welfare of the business, she couldn't approve any more goes to bad business than absolutely necessary. Mrs. Tulip turned white, and you could hear a pin drop on the other side of the table. My wife thanked them for their time, but apologized and went back to her work. We don't know if anything ever happened to Mrs. Tulip, but that business has since downsized and has gotten a reputation for being a poor choice to send business throughout my wife's organization. Have you ever had someone be rude to you when you applied for a job? If so, what did they do? Please let us know.
What if I've never applied for a job because I'm not a peasant?
I hate Target. So, backstory. This happened a few weeks ago. My neighbor has a super nice kid that is in the 9th grade, 14 years old, and as a nickname, we call him Tank. He's big and tall and well built like a tank, hence why we call him Tank. My neighbor texted me in the afternoon while I was at work asking if I could pick up her kid. I said sure, since I don't mind getting him. So it's about 3:30 in the afternoon, I pick up Tank from school, and as I'm pulling out, I get a text from Tank's mom asking me to pick up a few things from the store. And as you can guess from the title, the store that was closest to the school was a Target. One thing to note about Tank's school uniform is a maroon top and khaki bottoms. So we get to Target. I tell him to just wear his sweatshirt, which was red and white, his school's colors, and had the school mascot on it, which is a knight. Overall, he looks like your average 14-year-old. But did that stop people from immediately asking him where things were? Or why this cash register was closed? Or why this product was out of stock? Could he be a deer and check in the back? Short answer, no. Before Tank could say anything, I would respond with, "He's my brother. We're shopping. Goodbye." 90% of the people would walk away, but a few people would just huff and tell me,
Well, you shouldn't interfere with his work.
like, what part of "we are shopping" did they not understand? I also called him my brother to spare him the embarrassment of saying I'm his babysitter. I've known Tank long enough to treat him as my brother. This continued on our trip through the store. I swear, once people entered Target, they lost all brain cells. How do you confuse a kid with a clear school uniform on for a Target employee, which are mostly college kids where I'm from? We get the shopping done with what feels like the millionth person asking,
Where's the milk?
when I guess one of the higher-ups came to us and laser-locked his focus on me. Higher up. Are you interfering with your brother's work? Me. Not unless I'm disturbing him with Call of Duty. How many times do I have to say this? He's my brother and we're shopping for our mother. Leave us alone. Higher up. Well, I can't do that. You need to leave and he needs to get back to work. Me. Buddy, I don't know what's going on, but Tank here goes to a fancy Catholic school. He's too young to work. Well, we get kids from that school. So? He's 14. He's in middle school. He can't even drive. It then became this back and forth of, he can't even drive, and I don't care. You got him in so much trouble. I hate Target. Eventually, I just get tired, and I paid for the things and dragged poor Tank out of the store. I told his mom what happened, and she said that happens every time she and Tank go to the store. She did pay me back for what I got for their dinner. Oh yes, I did pull a Karen and demanded to speak to the manager for being such a jerk and not knowing his own employees. The manager did apologize. It didn't occur to him that he was talking to a customer, to which he said, "It had been a stressful day, and it was Monday. You know how it is, you know?" I said, yeah, Mondays suck, but please refrain from doing that again, or other people may not be as nice as me. Speaking of Target, do you like Target or Walmart? Please let us know.
I prefer Walmart because of how funny the people who shop there look.
Am I the jerk for giving my kids unequal wedding gifts? And honestly, one gift sucked? I have 3 kids. When my oldest son got married, my husband and I paid for the down payment on their house. When my daughter got married, we were going to do the same, but they chose to live in one of her father-in-law's rental properties, so my husband and I paid for all of the furniture. I always assumed that when my youngest son got married, we would do something similar. My youngest married a woman I have issues with. I was actually fine with her for a while, but once she asked me if I wanted grandchildren. I said I didn't have particularly strong feelings. She began to cry and told me that her mom puts a lot of pressure on her to have kids and she doesn't think she wants them. But she comes from a traditional family and her mom has called her broken and says she needs mental help. This struck a chord with me because I wish someone had told me that I didn't have to have children. I told her that she absolutely is not broken and she shouldn't have kids if she doesn't want them. I confessed that I regretted having kids. I resent that no one made it clear to me that I shouldn't have them if I wasn't enthusiastic, and that being a mother had been very draining and unfulfilling, and my husband and I struggled emotionally with how much we didn't want to be parents. That jerk went home and told my son everything I said, and he told his siblings. She said he had the right to know that I didn't love him, which isn't what I said at all. Then she implied I was stupid for having kids I didn't want, but she was considered doing the same, so she can't be that smart either. This caused a lot of family drama, and I told her that I'll never forgive her and I'll never view her as family. They got married last year, and I bought them a $50 gift off the registry. My son still brings it up on occasion, but I feel like I don't owe them a house when she betrayed me like that. Edit. No one is going to change my mind, and this woman did something horrible, but I'm going to buy my son a car, so he doesn't have to be punished for what she did. Thanks for the advice. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk, or is her daughter-in-law the jerk? Please let us know.
This is why I don't open up with anyone. You never know who you can trust.
Talk to me any way you please. Have fun losing the entire staff. I was a rink rat growing up. Friday night, Saturday morning, and night along with Sunday morning and night I was there. Heck, I didn't even leave between the morning and night sessions. I even went Tuesday nights as well. I was serious too. I dove deep into speed skating and not trying to toot my own horn, but I was pretty good and well known. Anyway, I'd been going to this specific skating rink for years and knew everyone. One day, it was right before I started 7th grade, the owner came up to me and asked me to go out onto the rink floor and tell some kids to slow down. I did and came back, and he asked me how would I like to make $7.50 an hour, to which I responded, "Do I also get in for free?" He laughed and said, of course. Boom. First job, and I wanted to be there anyway, so it was the biggest win-win of all time for me. To say I loved it was an understatement, and I did everything besides work the snack bar. DJ, skate counters, floor guard, janitor, hype man, you name it, and I did it. It was some of the greatest times of my life. So much fun, and the owner was super awesome. Also, we were paid under the table, so getting an envelope full of cash every week just felt like a bonus for having fun. To me, it wasn't a job. It was pure fun. It also helped that all my friends were regulars as well. A few years go by, and the owner sold to another guy who we will call Tim. Tim could be an absolute nightmare to work for. He changed the entire dynamic of the place, and everyone felt it. Now, this skating rink was popular and extremely old. Lots of people all over the city knew of it. My mom and aunt skated there when they were kids, if that tells you anything. Some way or another, the new owner set up a juicy deal, and the rink started making a crapload of money. On Saturday night from 7 to 11, it was skating per usual, but 11 to 2-ish and 3-ish, it was a club. A local hip-hop station came in there with local label Swisha House and turned the place upside down for those few hours. Every weekend, the place was poppin'. There must have been over 2,000 people in there on average, and at $20 per person, it adds up quick. Plus, the snack bar would never stop turning out food and drink. We were making stupid money. Bonus, we also found some good stuff when cleaning up as well. It was awesome. So Tim has it made, but sometimes he would fly off the handle for little things. All of us weren't sure what his deal was, but he would explode out of nowhere and start talking all kinds of nonsense. I'd started to have enough because we had all worked hard there for many years without issue. One night, he went too far. I don't like being called outside of my name. It's a respect thing. My own mother didn't do it, and he for sure wasn't. For context, I was in 10th grade now. One night, he was in some kind of mood, and for whatever reason was taking it out on everyone. I don't remember the exact situation, but he started freaking out on me at about 11:30 p.m. Now, Slim Thug and Paul Wall were in the building that night, so the place was extra packed. Way more than usual. I'm sure we were breaking all kinds of fire marshal rules. He went ballistic and called me every name in the book while I just stood there with rage building up in me. I'd had enough. For years, this place ran flawlessly and everyone loved us, so he really didn't have a good reason to treat us in the manner he did. My plan was formed. I immediately gathered everyone else that was working, and we all decided that enough was enough. It was time for a lesson. I assembled the entire crew, and we all quit on the spot. All of us. That meant nobody to serve food, clean, help the Swisha House people, or just carry out general things that needed to be done when 2,000 to 3,000 people were in the building. He was stunned. His tone changed, and he became very sweet. We weren't having it. As an additional, forget you, I called the other 2 people that were off, and they showed up to quit as well. Tim had already reached out, so he assumed they were showing up to work. Nope, we left him with 0 workers on the absolute busiest of busy nights, and boy did it implode. He couldn't find anyone to work, so the place went to absolute crap that night. The on-duty officer told him he needed to figure something out or he was going to close it down without workers. Well, he didn't. It closed down that night, and apparently without staff it got nasty. People started trashing the place. Shortly after, the radio station and label took their business elsewhere, and not long afterward, the place closed down. He lost his entire investment. This was very bittersweet for me because I loved the place, but he ran it into the ground. The building is still standing, and I would love to bring it back to its former glory, but my pockets are not deep enough yet. Maybe one day. I'm a grown woman, and I don't go to this school, lady. So I'm a youth worker, and I care for young people aged between 13 and 18 years old who are in out-of-home care for various reasons, but most of the time they've been removed from their homes. I have a specific client that I work with a lot who is verbally aggressive and has a lot of anxiety around school. This particular day was her 3rd or 4th day at a new school, and she asked me if I could walk her to her classroom because she was feeling anxious. This is something I do a lot for our clients to also make sure they're actually going to class. It has never been an issue. I had even been to this particular school many times with another client. So I'm walking her to class, and she's walking really fast ahead of me with her head down when a teacher stops me. Now, I'm a 30-year-old woman, and I was wearing jeans, a black shirt with Biggie Smalls' face on it, and a pair of Vans, so I can understand that my outfit skews younger. But I find if I dress cool, I have better success building relationships with the clients as they see me as more of an older sister rather than dressing in my normal business clothes and coming across maternal. So the teacher says in an incredibly loud, condescending voice,
Why aren't you in uniform?
I tried to quietly say, I don't go to the school, so that the other students don't hear me, because obviously my client doesn't want it broadcast that she is in care and had a carer walking her to class. But the teacher isn't having any of it. She didn't listen to what I was saying at all. She starts lecturing me in the most horrible voice, literally wagging her finger and saying,
This school has standards, and you're making us look sloppy. I'm giving you an out-of-uniform slip, and you'll be getting detention too.
I'm really annoyed by this point, but also in shock because I'm 30. How the heck can she be mistaking me for a school kid? I have a forehead wrinkle and the beginnings of crow's feet. How is this possible? I very firmly say, there's no need to speak to me that way. I don't go to this school. And of course, she doesn't let it go. She gets louder and says,
If you don't go to this school, you need to leave. We don't allow other school kids on our property.
My client, who has been standing there, gets more and more agitated and decides to set her straight, and at the top of her lungs screams,
She doesn't go here, you idiot! She's my carer!
The teacher turns bright red. Every student is looking at us now. The teacher mumbles something about visitors needing to sign in. I told her I had, and we kept walking. My client was so embarrassed, but her little outburst instantly made her popular with the other students because, as she told me later, that teacher is absolutely horrible to everyone. My client was spoken to by her teacher about appropriate language at the school, but wasn't punished. Try to steal my fiancé? Lose some business. Many years ago, I was engaged to my now wife. Let's call my wife Anne. Her then ex-boyfriend was, and remains to my knowledge, a big jerk. I'm not sure why she dated him. Let's call him John. I knew that they previously dated and didn't care. We all have pasts, including me. Anne and I clicked right away, and we both knew we were the ones for each other. Anne and I are on a weekend getaway with friends at the beach. We go out to a local bar. There aren't many in this area, and we see John. A story within a story. Two for the price of none. It wasn't an absolute surprise that John was there because John was now dating one of my exes. We'll call her Melissa. I know, small world. Melissa had previously introduced me to this beach, and it was a fun place. Melissa is the one ex that I despise. I'm perfectly fine to see or chat with any other of my exes except Melissa, and I wish all of them well except her. After I broke up with Melissa for various reasons, I subsequently find out that she was cheating on me, quite publicly, with at least one other guy on multiple occasions, including when we went away to that same beach. Cue a hot, humid, beachy night. Lovers arm in arm. I tell Melissa that I'll wait in line for us. You sit and I'll call you when I'm near the front. Melissa thanks me by publicly making out with a guy 200 feet away around the corner, unbeknownst to me at the time. After we broke up, Melissa's friends told me that story and other similar gems that made me feel quite embarrassed for being so oblivious. Anyway, back to the main story. I go to the main bar to grab drinks for Anne and me. As soon as I'm away from Anne, John makes a beeline for her. He tells Anne that they should leave the bar together and pick up where they once used to be. Anne says no, and on top of that, she's engaged. John doesn't care. Anne reminds John that he's on a weekend getaway in a rented house/hotel with his girlfriend. John offers to dump Melissa. Anne declines and tells me this about 5 minutes after it happens. She asks me not to make a scene. Being that I certainly got the better of the two women in the situation, I figure the most appropriate response is to allow John to spend time with Melissa. Let them make each other miserable. Fast forward a few years. Anne and I are still married. John and Melissa are married too. They deserve each other. I have a new client that needs to hire a service provider for millions of dollars. The client has narrowed it down to two options. One of them is a massive company, but the contract name is John's name, and I confirm with Anne that this is indeed John. I tell my client the story about John and say that you can hire John. I'll be professional, but you need to watch your back with him. I say alternatively, we can still use the service provider and ask for John not to be involved and get someone else to be their point person. My client is more aghast at the story than I ever was. He's very traditional/old school. He says he absolutely won't work with John or his company and hires the other provider, which is fine by me. And they both do the same job and cost the same, so it's really a matter of comfort level with the day-to-day folks. I'm not sure if my client told John why. I told my client that he was absolutely free to explain why, and I hoped he did. Although I doubt my client would do that. He was too polite. Either way, John's company lost a couple $1 million, and John personally lost a very nice bonus, all for trying to get with Anne that one night. You're in the wrong store. This has happened so many times during my years in retail that if I had $1 for every time it happened, I wouldn't have to work in retail anymore. What I am, of course, referring to is when a customer comes into your store, says a product is on special, and then eventually realizes that it is on special elsewhere, or it was on special last week. I block a lot of these out these days, but looking at an old Facebook memory today, I got reminded of one of my earliest and a classic situation like this. Back at the turn of the century, I worked for one of the 2 major supermarket chains in this country. Let's call them Kohl's. I was working the checkout this one day when the customer, let's call him Mr. C, comes in. I'm there scanning his items when he notices a discrepancy with the price of an item. Mr. C.
Excuse me, the price of that ice cream is wrong.
Me. How so?
Well, you have charged me $4, yet it is on special for $2.
Me. Let me just check that for you. Where did you see it advertised on special?
It was in your catalog.
Okay, let me just have a look. I then browse the catalog and find no mention of the ice cream being on special. Me. I'm sorry, sir, but it's not in the catalog.
Yes, it is.
Sorry, sir, but I've just looked through the entire catalog and it's not in there. Mr. C.
Give that to me.
He grabs the catalog out of my hands and then proceeds to look through it. He then looks through it a second time and then throws it down.
This is the wrong catalog. Why have you shown me the wrong catalog? I want to speak to a supervisor.
Excuse me, sir, but this is the correct catalog. If you have a look at the front page of the catalog, you'll see the dates that the specials are on for. Mr. C.
Don't give me any of this nonsense. Leave all my stuff here. I'm going home to get the catalog that you guys put in my mailbox to show you what the specials are.
Me. Okay, sir. Mr. C left and I did a deferred sale, even though I was not expecting him to come back. Amazingly, 30 minutes later he did, and he came straight to my checkout trying to interrupt my sale. Mr. C.
See, I told you.
Me. Excuse me, sir. Do you mind waiting while I serve this customer?
No, you pay attention to me and now.
Me. To the customer in my checkout. It'll just be a second. To Mr. C. Fine, show me. Mr. C proceeds to open the catalog straight to where the ice cream is on special. But I had already noticed 3 things wrong with it, so was going to bring up each of them, one at a time. Me. Firstly, sir, the ice cream that is on special may be the same brand that you are trying to purchase, but it is the wrong size.
What do you mean?
Well, the one you're trying to purchase is a 2-liter tub of ice cream. The one on special is a 1-liter tub.
I don't care. Still give me the special.
Me. Well, if I was to still give you the special, it would be the same sort of special as there is off the 1-liter tub, which would mean that you would actually be paying more.
This is just flagrant misadvertising.
Secondly, look at the dates of the specials. This was last week's catalog.
I didn't know of the special last week. You should keep them running for longer.
And finally, I would like you to look at the store sign above you.
Okay, and?
And now look at the logo on the front of the catalog.
And?
Now compare the two. Are they the same? Mr. C at this point became very quiet and quickly scurried out of there. Please don't steal my phone. I honestly didn't believe that there are these kinds of incredibly entitled people who think that stealing a phone from someone to entertain their kid is acceptable behavior. Yes, you never believe in saying things until they happen to you. For a little context, I work as a security consultant for a fairly paranoid company, which is kind of understandable considering the sensitive nature of our work and the kind of client we usually have, but it leads to zero crap taken policies. Yesterday, I took a day off to deal with some of that lovely government bureaucracy. I sit in an office, government office no less, and wait for an appointment. It's hot, it's kind of humid. The kids forced to wait there with the parents are cranky, and I'm reading and answering my email on my phone, since there ain't much else to do anyway. Entitled kid comes up to me. Entitled kid. What you playing? Me. I'm not playing, I'm doing my emails. I admit, it may look like I'm playing a game since I'm not the young kind of person who's super fast at typing on a keyboard, a skill I really envy the youth of today for. I'm more hunt and peck style. I prefer using a desktop by far. and I need to concentrate to actually hit the right letters, so I don't notice that entitled kid returns to his mother, who appears shortly afterwards just as I finish my mails. Entitled mom.
Come on, let my son play on your phone for a while so he doesn't nag me.
Me. Sorry, ma'am, this is my work phone. There ain't no games on it. There really is nothing on it that could be remotely considered fun. These things are stripped down to the bare bone, with zero leeway when it comes to what you put on them. Entitled mom.
I saw you play. Let him play for a while. We'll be in before you, so you get your precious phone back soon enough.
Me. Sorry, ma'am, I'm not allowed to give my work phone to anyone. That's no lie. On my phone, some rather sensitive information is potentially accessible. It does take a few extra steps, and you need to jump through a few additional access hoops, but as said before, my company is a bit paranoid when it comes to this, and we're only allowed to use our phone to access corporate information in what is considered a controlled environment. I'm, as said above, in a government building with an additional feature that will become apparent soon. It doesn't get any more controlled than that. Most of all, I'm not allowed to give my phone to anyone outside the company, and even only a select few people inside of it, and most certainly not in an unlocked and hence usable state. Fortunately, at this point, I already closed down the mail container, which needs additional unlocks to access the mail portion, as she simply snatches my phone from my hands. I was actually flabbergasted for a moment before I realized just what she did. She has my work phone in her hands, unlocked. In short, I am very close to not having a quiet weekend, and she is very close to having a few very uncomfortable weeks, months, or years, depending only on how creative our legal department gets. Me. Ma'am, please give me back my phone, this very moment. My company is very strict with phones, and unless you hand it back this very moment, I have to report this to the authorities and report a theft of my phone to my company. They will press charges. Please, ma'am, please give me that phone back. No luck. She waves it off and tells me not to be a baby as she hands my phone to her son, telling me I'll get it back as soon as it's their turn to go in.
It's not like we're leaving you without your precious phone.
Me. Ma'am, for the last time. Actually, him pushing a button on the phone would already have required me to report it as stolen and tampered with, but I am at this point willing to assume that a kid of about 7 or 8 years old doesn't really know what he's doing. I have to call the police if you do not hand the phone back right now. She glowers at me and then asks in an incredibly sassy tone.
Yeah? How you gonna call the police without your phone?
I sigh, pull out my private phone, which actually does contain a few games, and frankly, if she had asked any nicer, I would have let her son play with it. Even if he breaks it, no big deal. Dial the not quite an emergency police number and report what's going on. All the while entitled mom glowering at me, very obviously not believing I'd really call the cops for something as trivial as that. Frankly, if I didn't have to, I probably would not have. If that was my private phone in her son's hands, I would not have been bothered. Now, since this is a government building and a police station is right inside the same building, it doesn't even take a minute until 2 policemen enter the room, which causes entitled mom to go pale for just a moment before acting as if it isn't her business at all. The police ask me what's going on. I explain it to them. They ask entitled mom, and she has the audacity to claim that it's her phone and that I want to steal it from her. Me. That's easy to prove. Lock the phone and let's see who can unlock it. She claims she forgot the code, but by then, the policemen have a pretty clear picture of what's going on. I unlock the phone to show them it's mine, and they ask if I want to press charges. I tell them I don't want to, but I have to. No later than now, I do, because there's now a police report about it, so I have no choice anymore. And knowing our legal department, they usually get very creative as to what they try to slap on this, which I am currently not really regretting because as of this writing, I'm on the phone with our internal security who is just as happy as I am to deal with this on a weekend. That happened 2 months ago. A little update. I did not have an enjoyable weekend afterwards, as predicted. Our legal department actually did press charges, including industrial espionage. Remember, we're talking about a kid who is about 7 playing with my phone. In the words of one of our lawyers, and I quote, "That way, the sum is high enough that the Karen needs to hire and pay for a lawyer herself." I honestly don't know what's scarier, to think that they really tacked on industrial espionage to this petty BS, or that a 50-year-old high-level corporate lawyer knows and uses the term Karen. Karen tried on my wedding dress without my permission and stretched it all out. Me, 26 female, and my fiance, 28 male, have been engaged for 4 months. We're planning on having our wedding on October 18th. My future mother-in-law kept annoying me and sending me suggestions for choosing the right wedding dress and said that she knew better and tried to get me to approve of wedding dresses that she chose. And when she couldn't enforce her decision, she demanded that I take her with me to buy my wedding dress so she could have an opinion. Before I went shopping, I called her to ask if she wanted to come, but she started making excuses about how busy she was with my sister-in-law. I went shopping with my mom, and I was able to find a really nice dress, although it cost me a little over what I saved up for, but it was worth it. I made some changes to it, and it was perfect. It arrived to my apartment at the end of the week, and I made sure it was stored in a safe place so it wouldn't get ruined. Yesterday, I got back from my mom's house and found that my fiance wasn't home, and neither was the dress. I called him immediately, knowing that he must have taken it to show it to his mom, since she continuously asked to see it and refused to have me send her pictures of it on Facebook. I was so mad when it was confirmed that my fiance took it to show it to his mom. He said he was going to be home in 30 minutes after he went to the supermarket. I waited for longer than I had to, and then when he arrived, I ran to get my dress that was buried underneath grocery bags. I took it to check on it, and its zipper was broken, and the dress itself, the fabric, was stretched out. I was like, what the heck happened to it? My mother-in-law must have tried it on because it looked ruined. The straps were almost loose. I had to call my mother-in-law when my fiance told me his mom and sister took turns to try it on. I was absolutely livid. She told me she did nothing wrong and that I was making a big deal out of it. She said she'd get me a replacement for the broken zipper, but I told her to pay for a new dress since it was stretched out and no longer fitting. She refused and said that I probably wasn't happy with my dress choice and wanted her to pay so I could get a new one. I yelled at her for trying it on and ruining it, that she and my fiance were responsible for ruining my dress, so they should pay for a new one. It's done, no longer fitting. The straps are in a horrible condition. My mom said she'd pay for fixing it, but I just hate how now someone else has worn it before me. I'm mad at both of them and seriously considering postponing the wedding. Well, who do you agree with? OP or her future mother-in-law? Please let us know. I love trying on things that don't belong to me. Entitled sister wants to steal our grandma's apartment so her secret boyfriend can move in. My sister, mid-30s, is probably the worst case of entitled I've ever seen. She's always the victim, can do no wrong, and the world owes her for her imaginary suffering. This time, however, she's reached an entirely new level. She's recently confessed to our mom and I that she started dating someone behind her husband's back. And to be honest, her husband is also a ginormous dirtbag. But just leave the guy, okay? I don't think anyone deserves to be cheated on, and even though he totally sucks, an affair doesn't constitute as some kind of just punishment. It's messy and not worth it. Save everyone the extra heartache. Now, our grandma passed at the end of August. It hasn't even been a month since she's passed, and since she was ill, we did have time to discuss some things and make arrangements for others. She lived in an apartment that's attached to our mom's house, and we had talked about me moving into it after grandma passed, and everyone thought it was a good idea because my grandma had things like no-slip railings, kitchen tools and gadgets for arthritic hands, etc. And I also am disabled and could benefit from the same equipment. Come to find out, my crappy sister thinks it'd be a cool idea to have her secret boyfriend move into our mom's property instead, so she can use our mom as some kind of cover for what she's doing. And I am absolutely repulsed and livid. We were all just starting to let my sister come around again because after grandma passed, she seemed like it had really affected her and she was really turning over a new leaf. But it's all because she wants her boyfriend to move in. I don't think anyone is going to fly with the idea. I just can't believe that she even thought it would be a viable option and something that she could even suggest to us. Why does she just assume that we'll help her cheat on her husband? I want no part of it. I will not be an accomplice. Also, her justification for suggesting he move in is because OP doesn't seem to be in much of a rush to get up there. Like, yeah, I'm the one who discovered grandma there, less than a month ago. Sorry I haven't been sorting through all of her belongings and getting them ready to be rehomed or donated. I wish I could keep every trace of her, and the fact that I have to get rid of anything at all hurts, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry I haven't done it yet, but maybe try having a little empathy. I've decided that I'm kicking my sister out of my life again. Each time I think she's capable of changing, she shows that she's still the same horrible, selfish person, and I'm done falling for the charade. Have fun with your inevitable divorce proceedings. Good luck explaining all of this BS to your kids too. Thanks for reading if you read. Still can't believe my sister is not only a real human being who exists, but we share the same gene pool. Also, I'm 24 years old, so I've had a long time to come to terms with that fact. Still can't. Forget me? Forget you. I want my money. About 30 years or so ago, I was 17 and about to head to university. An acquaintance through my parents' church offered me a job working with him learning to be a pizza chef. Awesome! I'd need money for uni, and I'd already had a stack of jobs, so working hard was nothing new for me. But being a cook certainly was. My experience with Italian was limited to Pizza Hut, so I accepted that at the start I was a liability, not a help. I started work, and to start with, I worked free. Cool, but when it got to the point about 3 months later that I was opening by myself and taking whole shifts by myself, well, I should be paid. I messed up all of my 17-year-old courage and confronted the owner. Let's call him Nick, because that was his name. He huffed and puffed and tried to tell me how terrible I was, but I stood my ground, and now I'm on minimum wage. Not bad in my eyes at the time. I worked there for another 3 years, through most of my uni degree, often putting in 30 hours contact at uni, 30 hours at the restaurant, and 30 hours of study. It was hectic, but just became the norm. Towards the end, I became a lot more savvy and started researching labor laws, keeping records of my pay packets and end-of-year tax receipts, and realized Nick and other co-owners were doing me over. I wasn't on the correct rate, they weren't deducting tax correctly, and a couple of other accounting oversights. By then, I was working with my, at the time, mate. Let's call him girlfriend creeping jerkhead. It was Sunday night. The place was packed. I had tickets all the way down my line, and Jerk and I were pumped. We had a new boss who had just bought into our business who thinks he's the king of the world because he was now a restaurateur. A real jerk. But after years of having to stay back to cook pizzas on World Cup nights for the boss's friends, or Christmas, New Year's Eve, etc., I was sorta used to the grandstanding chest-puffing behavior. The night in question, the new boss would not let me start the second pizza oven. Think a 2-tier oven. I was only allowed to turn the top tier on because it cost too much. So here I am, oven full, 2 pizza chefs running full speed, and we're only falling behind because one oven wasn't even enough, and it was starting to cool down from being so full and open so frequently. New boss gets a couple of tables of mates in. Instead of just asking us to cook some comp garlic bread or whatever, he starts loading up trays himself and putting them in the oven. Not the worst crime, but because he had no idea what he was doing, every 30 seconds he'd open the oven to check them, cooling the oven down even further, potentially ruining the food we had in there and slowing us down measurably. I had the head chef chewing me out as his food was ready to go, but my food on the same ticket wasn't. It was hectic and not fun. This garlic bread bandit crap had to stop. Me. New boss, stop messing with my oven. If you want garlic bread, just ask. I'll get it done immediately for you. New boss.
What? Huh?
Me. You're messing with my oven. You're cooling it down and we're too busy for this crap. Just tell me and I'll make it. Boss.
Okay.
Did he do it? Nope. He kept on. Cue the same conversation another 2 times. The last time I told him he'd be sorry if he did it again. You see where this is going. He did it again. Now, after being consistently done over, so many kooky stories from that place, for 3 years, my time was up there anyway, and this was the time to do it. I looked at my friend and said, "Yo, we out of here?" He looked back and simply said, "Yup." We stripped our aprons, and in front of the entire restaurant, Pizza Kitchen was in full view of the entire restaurant, threw them on the bench, and told new boss we quit. All these tickets, all this food in the oven, you've messed up, and your mate's crappy garlic bread, this is all yours now. Good luck. Then we walked out, got some coffees from the baristas, sat in front of the pizza area, and watched him absolutely flounder. He had no idea what he was doing, and there was literally no one else there that could help him. We could see food coming out from the kitchen, but the pizza on the same ticket was taking 20 minutes or more longer to come out. Tables were hopping mad. We could hear the grumblings all around us. I'll admit, it was funny. It was very satisfying to behold. That's not the pro-revenge though. The pro-revenge was that I'd been stealing my timesheet every Sunday night, photocopying it, and then replacing it Monday mornings. I'd been doing that for over a year. I'd also told my friend to do it. Monday I walk in, and Nick was there and was furious at me. As I was walking in, you could see his chubby face turn bright red as he bellowed across the restaurant floor.
What the heck do you think you're doing here? Get out and never come back.
Me. Nick, we've got to talk. We can do it here or we can do it in your office. But trust me, you want to have this conversation privately. Nick.
Fine, you come with me then.
Desperately trying to gain the upper hand back, and he storms to his crappy little office out the back. Nick tells me how he's going to withhold pay and a whole heap of other illegal hot air. Me. You done? Good. Here, read this. I hand him a printout of an Excel spreadsheet, a stack of photocopied timesheets, a stack of photocopied payslips, printed copies of the wage awards, all of which detail the amount he's ripped me off for. Me. You owe me $6,000. I'll take cash or a check now. Did I mention he and the other bosses had just been simultaneously raided by the tax office and that they and their business were all on thin ice? Yeah, bad timing for Nick the jerk. Nick, spluttering, wringing his hands.
But I can't afford it. Look, I'll show you my bank accounts.
As he physically starts scrambling to find his bank statements. Me. Nick, I literally don't give a crap about you, your bank accounts, or your situation. You owe me $6,000 today. Or I take all of this to the tax office and all of the other relevant government departments that will be very interested in this. Because Nick, I have a feeling if you're doing this to me, you're doing it to other staff here as well, huh? As for not having the money, well, again, not my problem. But you just bought a new $60,000 Mitsubishi, so if you have to run that down to the car yard and sell it, again, I don't give a crap, but I get $6,000 today. He literally teared up a little. I'm not sure why, maybe through frustration, rage, or just being done over by someone he thought was way beneath him. But seeing him cry was a pretty beautiful thing to behold as a 20-year-old kid. I got a check that day for my whole $6,000, and yes, it cashed. But the best was walking out of his office with friends standing there who deadpan just looked him in the eye and said, Nick, we need to talk. And in they walked to do the same thing. $10,000 he lost that day. The best part? A few of my friends at the restaurant caught wind of the fact that I had enraged him and asked what it was all about. I let them know how they were being done over, how to take copies of all of their timesheets, and where to find the relevant laws. I know of several other people who did the same thing to him. And that was how I left the hospitality industry and started working in my field of study, never to look back. Hope you enjoyed my cake day present to y'all. Have you ever had a job where you weren't paid fairly? If so, what did you do about it? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for getting upset about the condition placed on the free house my future in-laws want to buy us? So this is a disaster. My fiance, 29 male, and I, 28 female, have been looking into buying a house. We've been saving for this for years and have enough saved up to buy something small. Our city's housing market is pretty insane, so even with a good combined income, most things are out of our range. We don't need a lot of space and aren't planning to have kids anytime soon, if ever, so small works just fine. However, as a wedding gift, his parents recently offered to buy us a nice 3 to 4 bedroom home in their neighborhood. It's a bit bigger than what we need and a little far from work, but it is an amazing home with a giant yard for our dogs. We were shocked and grateful and didn't think we could accept. His parents are quite wealthy. They own about 7 to 8 investment properties of their own and have always really welcomed me as family, but it just felt like too much. They kept insisting the property was owned by an older friend that had lost his wife, and he was looking to downsize and didn't want the hassle of putting it on the market. This way, they could buy the home from him with cash, and he'd give them a slight discount on it and help us get started in life. We eventually agreed on the condition that they accept all the money we saved for a down payment and that the remaining amount is an interest-free loan that we would pay back monthly. Everything seemed great until this weekend when they sprung on us their other condition. Namely, they also want us to agree to let fiance's younger sister live with us indefinitely. To be clear, I have no issue with his younger sister, Claire. Claire, who's 26, and I have always gotten along really well, which I think is one of the reasons his parents like me so much. Claire has a disability and has trouble reading social clues. She still lives at home, and they have mentioned they worry about her ever being able to live independently. My fiance and I love his sister, but she can be difficult to live with, as she has trouble dealing with situations if she doesn't get her way. When we explained this wouldn't work for us, it started a giant argument. First, they tried to offer it for free again, i.e., we don't pay them back for it. We said no. His parents ultimately said they wouldn't help us buy the house unless we agreed, so we said we don't want the house then. Now they're calling us selfish for refusing a free house and putting their friend in a tough spot by pulling out last minute just because we don't want to share a giant house with his sister. It's pretty stressful, and his sister is apparently upset too, as she was looking forward to moving in with us. I can see how it seems a little entitled, especially when we don't need all that space and would have extra bedrooms. But are we the jerks here? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her in-laws? Please let us know.
Why not accept the house and then evict the sister?
That's what I would do. Insecure girls tried to ruin my shift. This happened a few years ago when I was a senior in high school serving at a popular chain known for their wings. I had a table with 3 guys who were all really nice when they ordered their drinks and apps and told me they were waiting for some friends still. When I would come to check on them, they were nice and smiling the whole time and even making jokes with me. Turns out they were waiting for their girlfriends. I greet them as my usual friendly self and get their drink orders and more food orders for them. Bring them their drinks and all is fine. They're watching whatever game is playing on one of the TVs. This was a busy night and I had an 8-top outside of my section, which was also in a different dining room. This isn't anything new for me, but as you guys know, bringing food for that many people at once can take a little bit of time. After I drop their food, I bring the tray back into the kitchen and my manager approaches me that he just had to comp the drinks for those girls and is bringing them free shots. I'm beyond confused. What could have warranted that in the 5 minutes I've been gone? He had no clue what their issue was because they had everything they could have needed. They just had an attitude. The whole rest of the time I served them, the girls would give me dirty looks, but the guys were still super chill and joking around with me. They paid 3 separate checks. 2 out of the 3 couples had the girls pay. 1 stiffed me. 1 gave me a 1-cent tip, which is honestly worse than nothing. The 1 couple where the guy paid actually tipped me 20%. They left the table a complete mess. Just dirty napkins everywhere. One of the girls even left an empty beer glass under her chair, hoping that I would knock it over and have broken glass to clean up. I came to the conclusion that they don't like a young friendly waitress talking to their boyfriends. I just had to laugh because they really felt so insecure about themselves, mid to late 20s, because of me, a girl who gets paid to be nice. I hope they get over their jealousy issues. You drive for Lyft, so give me a free ride. My first ever personal encounter with an entitled parent. I've dealt with regular Karens before, but never an entitled parent. This happened this morning as I was on my way to work. It's still on my mind. As the title implies, I drive for Lyft as a side hustle. My day job is a teacher's aide at an elementary school. I left early this morning to get gas and some breakfast and stopped at the QT by my house. Just as I'm finishing up, a lady with a baby in her arms approaches me. She didn't look like a Karen at all, looked mid-20s at the oldest, and her baby couldn't have been more than 1. Entitled mom. Excuse me, do you have any spare change so I can catch the bus? Usually when I have any change or spare ones, I share it if someone asks, cause I'm nice. But I didn't have any on me today, sadly. But I do have an all-day bus pass my work gave to me. Sorry, I don't. I have a bus pass though. It's good for the whole day if you want that instead. She says yes and thanks me profusely. So I go into my car and get the pass from my wallet. I emerge with the pass ready to hand it over. Then she notices the Lyft sticker on my windshield. Actually, can you give me a ride instead? Since you drive for Lyft, it means you're safe and you won't hurt us. No, I can't right now. Sorry, the bus pass is all I can offer. There's 2 reasons here as to why I say no. 1, I was on my way to work, and 2, she didn't have a car seat for her baby, so even if I was available, I'd have said no. I'm not gonna break the law and put them at risk, because while I'm a safe and careful driver, many other people aren't. Entitled mom. But the buses are hot and smelly. Do you want me or my baby to get hurt? I don't live far, but it's so hot outside, and I just want to go home. It wasn't even 11 a.m. yet, so it wasn't hot at all. So either she was BSing me or truly had a very low tolerance for warm temperatures. Look, I said I can't right now. I have to go to work. I'm sorry. She went from young mother to Tyrannosaurus real quick. Entitled mom. It's because of my race, is that it? Surprised Pikachu face. I'm thinking, did she really just pull this card? Shaking a bit and trying to stay calm. Lady, that has nothing to do with it. I said I can't take you because I have to go to work. Plus, you don't even have a car seat for your baby. Take the bus pass or leave it.
Don't lie to me. I know you don't have a real job. You just want to see us suffer.
At this point, I decided forget it and got in my car without giving her anything. I was going to be late for work if I stuck around and continued arguing with her. Before she could do anything else, I started my car and quickly drove away. I feel bad for not being able to help her, but I also don't appreciate how she treated me. Karen thinks her son deserves honors placement regardless of his grades. I worked in a pretty affluent school district for 14 years and met a lot of entitled parents. These two from my first year of teaching never left my mind though. Obviously, dialogue is not really accurate. As an 8th grade English teacher, it was my job to recommend either Honors English, Level 1 English, or Level 2 English for my students' 9th grade year. Personally, I hated this. I want kids to work to the best of their abilities and not make them feel inferior when they just might not be mentally mature enough for a higher placement yet. Math and science also had to make similar recommendations. To clarify, Level 1 was a normal, rigorous class, probably comparable to the class I was currently teaching. Level 2 was for kids who really struggled with reading and writing. Honors was very intense. Students would write numerous papers that might not even get graded. They would have multiple chapters to read independently each night, frequent tests and quizzes, and no grammar instruction because they should already have mastered it at this point. It was probably appropriate for maybe 20% of my students at most. Math and science were tracked in the same way. Parents never liked this either. Multiple complaints every year, but parents could choose to waive their kids into whichever level they decided. Pretty much never went well. So many kids who would waive into honors would fail quarter 1 and need to drop a level before the end of the semester. On the other hand, if they dominated in level 1, their current teacher could suggest moving them up. These two entitled parents asked for a meeting with me, the math teacher and science teacher. When they joined us in the room we were meeting in, they were absolutely simmering with rage. Their son had not been recommended for any honors classes, and that was not okay. Basically, we explained, kiddo did a good job, did his homework, got solid B's and some A's, did what he was asked. No more, no less. He fit the description of a level 1. Entitled Dad.
Either you are all wrong, or this school has failed our son. He came in with straight A's in elementary school. You obviously didn't teach him well enough, or you placed him incorrectly.
Entitled Mom.
My husband and I graduated from Ivy League schools. Our other 2 kids are in Ivy League schools.
Us. Okay, but we aren't placing them or you. We're placing this kiddo. And pretty much, if you do your work in our elementary schools, you get an A. Entitled Dad.
Well then, you need to give him more time to do better. He obviously wasn't trying.
Us. Honors kids don't need to be warned to try. They just try and succeed because they are really advanced in these areas.
How will he get into a good college if he is a level 1?
Every year, almost all of the senior class goes on to college. Some fantastic colleges too. Plus, if he does well, he can go up a level.
Then put him in honors, and if he does badly, he can move down.
Us. That can be really tough on a kid. To be in a class with others and then have to leave because you can't achieve what they can? Also, the class has to slow down to try to help any kid who isn't grasping the material, and now the whole class is behind. It's much better for a kid's self-esteem to do so well they move up. Also, remember, you can waive him in. Entitled Mom.
We don't want to waive him in. We want you to recommend him.
Entitled Dad.
All of our friends' kids are in honors. How would it look if we had to waive ours in?
Ding, ding, ding. There it is. They can't hold their heads high in the country club if their son is just normal. We ended up saying if he made a drastic improvement by the end of the year, we would reconsider. By the way, he didn't. Even with some incredible papers written at home for my class, weird how he couldn't write as well in class. Parents waved him in. He did horrible in all 3 and ended up back in level 1 for all except science. Ended up passing science by the skin of his teeth. Honestly, my heart goes out to him. That's really difficult, especially if your parents are comparing your success to theirs, your siblings, and your neighbors. Entitled customer tries to return something we don't even sell. So I spent about a year working in a shop that sold equipment and supplies for disabled or elderly people. Walking sticks, wheelchairs, electric scooters, and other, more personal sundries. I actually liked the job, and all things being equal, I'd still be working there today, but that's a story for another day. Anyways, this incident happened on a Saturday, so I was alone in the shop. An older gentleman, I'd say mid to late 60s, came in carrying a plastic bag. He walks up to the counter where I'd been refilling the boxes of those rubber ends for walking sticks and crutches, and I said hello and asked how I could help him.
I bought this the other day, but it's no good.
He placed the bag down on the counter.
I'd like to return it.
I didn't recognize him, but figured that the manager must have served him, so I automatically asked if he has the receipt. He produced a sheet of paper, A4 paper, which seemed a little odd. Most items we sold came with just a regular till receipt, while larger items had a 3-layer white, yellow, pink form. White copy went with the customer, yellow in our records, and pink to the tax man. Most of what we sold was VAT-free, so we needed to keep records of what we sold and to who. However, what he offered me wasn't the flimsy receipt I was expecting, but just a regular sheet of printer paper. I looked at it and saw that it was from another shop, maybe a mile away across the other side of the town center. "Oh, you bought this from the other shop?"
Yes.
He nods.
Your other shop. The one on this road.
"No, we're a different company." I point to my name badge, which clearly states who I work for. "They're the other company."
Yes, but you're the same.
He insists. "We sell similar products, but we're a completely different company." I opened the bag to see what was inside. I honestly can't remember exactly what it was, but while we sold similar items that did the same job, we had never sold that particular item. It even had the price label on it, which clearly stated that it was, indeed, from the other shop. "We don't even sell this. You'll have to take it back to the other shop."
I don't want to walk all the way down there,
he exclaimed. And that much I could get behind, given it was raining pretty heavily that day.
I want you to refund it now.
"I'm sorry, sir, but I can't give you a refund for something that you didn't buy from us, and we don't even sell."
But you're the same,
he repeated, more insistently this time. "No, we sell similar products, but they're a completely different company." I so wanted to pinch the bridge of my nose while I struggled to come up with a comparison he might understand. It would be like buying something from supermarket A, then wanting to return it to supermarket B. They're both supermarkets, but they're not the same company.
But you're the same,
he repeated yet again. At this point, I'm starting to wonder if he had some sort of dementia. But aside from his inability to grasp the concept that two shops could sell similar items and yet not be the same company, he seemed fine. "No, sir, we are not." I do my level best not to sound condescending. "We are this shop. They are the other shop. We have no connection with them besides selling similar items. If you want to return this, you will have to go to the other shop."
Are you going to give me my refund or not?
He asks, clearly convinced that I'm trying to get out of refunding him his money. "No, sir." I remain calm. "I cannot refund you for something that you did not buy from us." He muttered something about trading standards and the police, then stormed off out of the shop, leaving his item and receipt behind. I put them back in the bag and put the bag under the counter and called the owner. I explained what happened, which quickly had him laughing, and he told me to just leave it under the counter in case the man came back, and if he did, give him the number for the main office. The shop I worked at was one of 4 the company operated. The man never came back, and we never got contacted by trading standards or the police. As far as I know, the bag, the item, and the receipt are still in the stock room to this day. As an aside, the other shop closed suddenly, as in the owner left in the middle of the night, not even telling the staff, after they were caught by trading standards selling a secret shopper something completely unsuitable for their stated needs, but cost twice as much as what they actually needed was. I, on the other hand, always made sure I sold someone the best fit for their needs, even going so far as to refuse a sale once. But again, a story for another day. Aunt tries to take my computer parts, and my cousins save me. My friend and I were laughing about this, and he convinced me to post it here. Some context. It was recently my 16th birthday, and my parents thought I was old enough to build my own gaming computer. I carefully picked out parts and had them laid out on my desk. My cousin was looking to upgrade her computer. She's 13. So we've got entitled aunt, we've got dad, mom, amazing cousin, and me. My aunt has never shown behavior like this to us, but now I'm sure her daughter has to suffer through it all of the time. Anyways, so my aunt and my cousin were visiting, among a few other family and friends, for my birthday, and my cousin and I were at my desk in my room talking about the parts, and I was showing off all of the stuff I had very meticulously placed on my desk. We were in the middle of a conversation of how she wants to buy a new graphics card and some other components to make her build better when my aunt walks in. Entitled Aunt: "Hey, do you guys want anything to drink? Oh, hey, OP, are these your new computer doohickeys? Too technical for me, I'm sure." Me: yeah, these are all the things that I picked out." "So, what's this one?" "Oh, that's a power supply. It's kind of like a battery pack." "Wow, OP, you kids are very smart to know all this stuff. Where's the screen?" Me: "Oh, the monitor hasn't arrived yet. We just ordered it." Mom from the kitchen: "Okay, everyone, dinner is ready, and we're cutting cake afterwards." I'm relieved to be pulled away from the awkwardness and head to dinner, but this is where the real trouble starts. Entitled Aunt: "So, I heard OP was building a new computer. How cool. Actually, Awesome Cousin is upgrading hers. Right, Awesome Cousin?" Cousin: "Oh yeah, I want to upgrade the graphics card." Dad: "Interesting. So, what are you looking for? NVIDIA or something else?" Cousin: "Mine is pretty old, so maybe something like an RTX card? I noticed OP has a 2060 Super. Something like that would be cool." Entitled Aunt: "Oh, wow. So, OP already has the one you want?" Cousin: "Sure, Mom, but I don't—" "Well, shipping times are slow because of what's going on. So what if Awesome Cousin could take your graphic cartridge, OP, and you could order another one? Your screen isn't even here, and what can you even do without a screen, you know? When it arrives, we'll pay you back for the cartridge too." Dad: "Well, see, OP really worked hard to pick out all of the parts, and there's no telling when other things will arrive." Entitled Aunt: "Well, it's the easiest option. Just think about it." Later, after dinner and cake, we go back to start figuring out how to slap all the components together. Entitled Aunt walks in and starts asking for the graphics cartridge. She looks angry, but I still keep rejecting all her tries to take it. Eventually, my parents come in and try to get her to leave. Dad: "Look, sis, if you want, we'll order one for you. Awesome Cousin's birthday is also in another month, and I wouldn't mind gifting her a new graphics card." He looks pointedly at my cousin: "As long as it's not too expensive." Cousin: "Thanks, Uncle. I don't mind waiting. I've saved money though. I could get it myself." Entitled Aunt: No. I'm your older sister. I'm not leaving this house without that cartridge. You were always such a miser. You aren't even smart enough to see the sense in my argument. Cousin, come here. Which is it? We'll grab it and leave. Come on." Then my mad lass of a cousin points at the box not for graphics card, and instead to the box of the old computer mouse that I was going to throw out. Entitled Aunt angrily grabs it and storms out with Awesome Cousin in tow and gets in her car. They live in another state, and I'm sure that Awesome Cousin got heck from her mom the whole way home when she found out that the graphics cartridge was a computer mouse. We haven't heard from them for a day or two, but I called Awesome Cousin on their house's landline phone, and she said she did get chewed out, but she doesn't know what the punishment will be yet. I'm afraid that the money she's been saving will be taken away, but if this blows up and she calls back, then I'll add an update. Anyways, thanks for reading this far. Speaking of graphics cards, do you play any PC games? And if so, which ones? Please let us know. Counter-Strike, bruh. Come get wrecked. Would I be the jerk if I reported my doctor? I'm pretty conflicted about this and need an outside opinion. I just turned 18 2 weeks ago and had a doctor's appointment yesterday. I went with my mom and little sister, but drove separately because I had a class right after. This is relevant to the story. Now, when we went to the front desk to check in, the woman there asked me if I wanted to sign a form that allowed my mom to see my medical records from now on. I said no. I would think on it. I was going to say no either way, but I felt uncomfortable saying that with my mom standing right next to me. I went into the exam room alone and everything went fine. Then my doctor came in to go over some things with me. This doctor has been seeing me and my 2 siblings since we were babies, and knows my mom well. This doctor has always annoyed me because she always gets on my case about my weight, saying I'm too skinny and accusing me of not eating. When she came in yesterday, after asking me some follow-up questions, she abruptly left the room saying she needed to ask my mom if she wanted me to get the flu shot. I was sitting on the exam table dumbfounded. I'm 18. Isn't this my decision to make? She came back and said my mom had said yes to the flu shot. I got it. Then the nurse handed me my papers and I went home. When my mom and sister got back, my mom said that she told the doctor that it was my decision to get the flu shot. I was going to say yes, of course, but she didn't even ask me, only my mom, and that the doctor told her that I had asked her to ask my mom. That's absolutely not true. My mom also told me that the doctor said she wasn't supposed to tell my mom, but she told her details about my checkup, saying I was fine with it, which of course I was not. I never gave her permission to do that. I know this whole thing seems small, but I'm worried that it will compromise my visits to the doctor in the future. My parents, especially my mom, are kind of strict, and there are some things I want to stay private. How can I trust my doctor if I feel I have to lie to her so I won't get in trouble with my parents? I don't want to lie to my doctor, especially about serious things. Is this some sort of violation? Info. She is a pediatrician. I won't be seeing her much longer anyway, but now I want to see what can be done about this. Edit. For those asking, my mom was not in the room with me. The doctor walked out saying she was going to ask my mom, and I didn't have a chance to stop her. Also, I didn't sign any papers to those who mentioned that, though I'm not sure if that makes a difference. Thank you to all those who have given me advice in this. Edit 2. I'm hesitant on this because since she's been my doctor for so many years, she may have done it out of force of habit. The thing that doesn't sit right with me is that she told my mom that I had asked her to check with my mom when I didn't at all. Edit 3. For those asking why I went with my mom, my sister had an appointment the same time as me, and she's a minor, so she needed my mom to be there with her. As I mentioned, I was in the exam room alone, and the appointment went totally fine other than her asking my mom about the flu shot and her telling my mom about my appointment after I left to go home. Well, what do you think? Should OP report the doctor or not? Please let us know.
HIPAA, not even once.
No, my scooter does not work here, lady. I used to work in a section of a major city that had a ton of electric scooters for rent just everywhere. I found myself using them quite often to get around and decided I would just buy one for myself to save some money in the long run. I would keep it in my office and use it for lunch breaks or quick errands around my building. One day, I was returning to my building to go back to work when this lady stopped me. I had my headphones in, so I didn't hear her clearly. I thought she had asked me, "Are these fun?" I replied, "Oh yeah, these are great," and folded up my scooter and kept on walking. Turns out she had asked, "Are you done?" As in, "Are you finished with your ride?" She ran up behind me and gave a slight tug on my shirt and said,
"If you're done, I'll take it from you."
Me, "No, this is my personal scooter. See, no markings. I think you can find some on the other side of the building though." Lady,
"You can't take them with you if you're not going to be riding them."
it's like she wasn't even listening to what I was saying. At this point, we're inside the lobby of my building, and the building security guys are beginning to raise some eyebrows in my direction. I again told her that this was my personal scooter. There were no brands on here, no labels, no barcode for anyone to scan. She began walking away, and I thought that was the end of it, but she walked towards the security guys and said something to them. They approached me. Security, Iban, this lady is saying you stole her scooter. I know the security guys and they know me. Lady,
"No, he's stealing the popular company scooter. He's taking it with him."
Security laughs out loud. I understand. No, ma'am, that's his scooter. We see him riding it every day. For some reason, she couldn't understand the concept that you could buy these scooters on Amazon or whatever. Lady,
"But he's done with it. Once he's done riding, it's open for anyone to use."
At this point, I kind of felt sorry for her and offered to explain by showing her the difference. The three of us walked through the building to the other side where there were 5 scooters that looked like mine except with all of the branding and stickers and such. See, these belong to the company. Mine is just completely blank. And if you pull up your phone and zoom in on where we're standing, you'll see that it only shows 5 available scooters. She still had this blank look on her face. Not sure if it was from not understanding or her trying to hide her embarrassment. But after a few seconds, she said, "Thanks," scanned one of the scooters and rode away. Am I the jerk for not allowing my disabled neighbor to park in my driveway and getting her car towed, despite the previous owner allowing it? I bought a house a few months ago and moved in last month. The previous owner was a friendly old man that could no longer live alone, so he decided to sell and move in with his daughter. Just to be clear, I put disabled in quotation marks because the lady in question is just really overweight, and I'm not sure if that counts as disabled. Now, apparently, he had been allowing use of his driveway to his disabled neighbor lady, largely because street parking is extremely limited, and what little street parking there is pretty much instantly occupied. What I'm saying is, unless you have a driveway, you end up having to park a good 5-minute walk away, and that's the best case scenario. Obviously, I was unaware of this, so I was surprised to see a large SUV parked in my driveway when I moved in. I ended up having to knock on several doors asking whose car it was because the movers could not stand still on the busy road too long. I figured it was the neighbor's car, so after a good 10 minutes of knocking, an extremely angry, enormous lady opened the door. I told her to move the car, and she immediately started arguing that the neighbor said it was fine. I told her he moved out. I moved in, and no, it is not fine, and to move it because the movers need to unload my stuff. She begrudgingly did. I ended up seeing her walking back half an hour later, completely wet with sweat. Now, a few days later, I went back to work, and lo and behold, the SUV is parked in my driveway again. I go over there again, spend 20 minutes knocking on the door before this lady opens the door, again visibly angry. I tell her to move her car. My driveway is not public parking. She protests, saying her ankles can't take walking the distance and claims I can easily walk it. I tell her that while that might be true, it's my driveway and I want to park there myself. Again, she moves her car. Again, I spot her half an hour later, drenched in sweat, making her way home. Well, it happened again a week ago, and this time she would not open her door. I got tired of it and had her SUV towed. She, of course, came to my house to scream at me. I told her to get the heck off of my property. A few days later, I had a small fence installed with a lock on it to make sure it did not happen again. I have since been getting dirty looks from her and one other neighbor, and when I told my mom, she told me I should be nicer to people. I do sort of feel bad too. She clearly struggles with the walk after all. What would you do in this situation? Would you let her keep parking in your driveway or not? Please let us know.
I would offer her a monthly parking membership.
Karen, please leave our school. So I work at a university as an admissions recruiter, and last summer I was walking through the building after my lunch and saw a woman wandering through the empty first floor. As soon as she saw me, she beamed over to me as fast as she could.
Excuse me, where is the Chick-fil-A?
So we have an express Chick-fil-A that is entirely student-run in one of our secondary dining halls, and while it is closed between the months of May to July, it still shows up as a location on all internet map sites for reasons we will never know. I think you know where this is going. This was last year, so the dialogue was close to this. Me. Oh, it's down the hall that way, leading into the other building. But I'm sorry, it's closed for the summer. Lady.
Closed? But the app says open.
Me. Oh, we don't have any control over what's online, but I can tell you it's closed like all other dining sites on campus. Lady.
Why are you telling people on Google that it is open and we come all the way down here?
Me. I'm sorry, I don't work in campus dining or Chick-fil-A, so I can't say why they mark it open. But there is a full restaurant like 5 minutes up that way.
But I wanted to eat here. Why are you advertising somewhere that isn't open and luring us out here? You should be ashamed of what you're doing.
Again, we didn't advertise.
Let me speak to your supervisor. I need to talk to him about your store.
Store? I'm an associate admissions director. I don't have a supervisor other than the director herself, and this definitely is not something she cares to hear about, but I knew this lady had a story in her head and wasn't going away easily. So I had an idea. Me. Sorry, ma'am, but I have a presentation starting soon, but I hope you find an answer to your question. I began walking back towards the office I actually answer legitimate questions at, and sure enough, this lady followed me like any angry gremlin. As I walked, I quickly texted our secretary a short brief of what was happening and then put some distance between me and the gremlin woman as we entered the office. Secretary. Hi, ma'am. How can I help you today? Lady.
Well, I'd like to complain about the terrible business practice by your restaurant, and your employee here has no skills related to the customer service industry.
Secretary, confused. I'm sorry? What restaurant? Gremlin lady proceeds to go on a tangent about us and Chick-fil-A and restaurant management, etc. And our secretary, who has 30 years of working in higher education, has the most disappointed in humanity look on her face I've ever seen. Secretary, ma'am, we are a university admissions office, and if you don't have any questions regarding that, you have to take your concerns to someone else.
No, I want to do this here.
She slammed her fist into the desk. Secretary, standing up and picking up phone. I'm going to have to call our campus police, who are located across the walkway here. I'd advise if you don't want to be escorted out and possibly arrested, you should please leave our school now. At this, the gremlin's eyes widened a bit as she processed her next move. Then she huffed and stormed out of our office. I'm not sure what happened to her exactly, but her story made for a hilarious story on our Friday meeting, and I bought our secretary a week's worth of coffee. Speaking of Chick-fil-A, do you like Chick-fil-A or not? Please let us know.
That sauce be wet though, bruh.
Am I the jerk for bringing up a report against my guidance counselor and potentially hurting her career? This story starts a few years back, but the events I feel I might be the jerk for happened this past week. So, short backstory. I'm chronically ill, and I used to be out sick from school for months at a time. I was in middle school the first time I was out of school for a long period of time. It started out really hard to get the proper documentation for my absence and then for an extended medical leave, aka I needed to be tutored from home because I couldn't physically come to school. Eventually, I got a doctor who was extremely helpful and had continued contact with the school. The issue of truancy that popped up because of the time between my first absence and my first tutoring session was dropped, and it seemed like everything was going smoothly. However, when I started feeling better, I had to slowly transition back to school. On my first day back, I was supposed to go to 3 classes, then meet with my guidance counselor to discuss how I was feeling. While I was walking to my second period class and talking to my friends that I hadn't seen in a while, my guidance counselor pulled me away from them and told me, these are the exact words, quoted from the report we made years ago.
If you are absent one more day and cause another ounce of work for me, I'll raise truancy charges against your family and have you taken away from your mother.
We later reported her to the principal. They didn't care. She's still employed. Here's where I think I'm a bit of a jerk. 4 years later, I'm in my new counselor's office talking about my college application process. My new counselor tells me that my old counselor is being highly considered for most loved staff member. I kinda chuckled at the news and told my current counselor about what happened and the report my family made. Apparently, this caused some discussion about the old counselor. She is no longer being considered for the award, and now, from what the school has told my family privately, the matter is being reopened and looked into. Something about her having multiple complaints. I feel pretty guilty and like a bit of a jerk because it happened so long ago. It's not exactly a good thing to potentially ruin someone's career. Am I the jerk? Edit. I didn't mention it, but I totally should have. I told a few family members about what was going on, and they told me that my actions were uncalled for because it happened so many years ago. They also said I was the jerk because it was probably just one bad day, hence my doubt. Thank you guys for clearing up that what she did was really bad. A lot of people used to tell me that it wasn't a big deal and that she was probably just having a bad day. I also totally forgot until 504s were brought up in the comments. While I was transferring into the high school, she completely removed my 504 because she thought it was pointless. I'm pretty sure that's illegal. My mom had to go to the state to get it reinstated. So yeah, no more sympathy for her here. Elderly lady makes her own drive-up window. I was out running typical Saturday morning errands with my youngest son and grandson. We stopped to get gas. The pay at the pump option was offline, so everyone was having to go to the window to prepay. Of course, since people had to go to the window, they were making impulse purchases of lottery, cigarettes, drinks, snacks, 12 pumps, so the line was kind of long. As I'm walking to the pump, I hear a car horn and someone yell,
"Get out of my way!"
I heard a few others exclaiming things such as, "What the heck? What are you doing?" and "Look out!" I watched in horror as this lady literally drove through the line of people to pull the front of her car almost right up to the gas shack. Elderly lady gets out of her car, waving her cane around, trying to hit people to keep them out of her way. She was yelling,
"Get the heck out of my way! I have to buy cigarettes and lottery tickets now! Go back to your cars! Pay over there! Move it! Out of my way!"
The cashier inside was yelling over the intercom for her to stop, to get back in her car, move it, and wait in the line. Elderly lady yells back.
Forget you and all these idiots. I come here every Saturday at this exact time to get my lottery. I have to buy them at this exact time.
Cashier. Ma'am, I'm calling the police. You've endangered everyone in line and myself had your brakes failed. You will not be buying anything from here ever. What you did, your face, car, and license plate are all on camera. Cashier called the police, but several people had already called. EMS and police were on their way. Elderly lady.
I don't give a hoot what you think you're doing. What you are going to do is give me,
Rattles off her list of junk.
and you're going to do it now.
Cashier. No, ma'am, I am not. Cashier then asks over the intercom if anyone is actually hurt. No one is seriously hurt, but a few were bumped by her car and cane. The police showed up at this time and walked up to the elderly lady. Officer 1. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to please step away from the window and talk to me.
Not until I get my dang lottery tickets.
Officer 2. Ma'am, you're not getting any lottery tickets today. Please step over here. At this, she picked up her cane and started swinging it around. Officer 1. Ma'am, put the cane down. If you don't come talk to us peacefully and stop using your cane as a weapon, we will be forced to taser you. EMS showed up along with officers 3 and 4. Officer 3 to the crowd. Everyone, please step away and to the ambulance. If you are injured in any way, let us know. Officer 4. We need all witnesses willing to make a statement to come this way. Officers 5 and 6 show up along with another ambulance. Officers 1 and 2 are still trying to talk to the elderly lady and she was having none of it. At this point, she starts grabbing things nearby, oil, car accessories, etc., and throwing them at the officers. Officers 5 and 6 approached very slowly. Officer 1. Ma'am, at this time I'm going to have to advise you that you are under arrest and you are resisting. Now please, put the cane on the ground and put your hands up.
Forget you. I didn't do anything. These people that were blocking the line should be the ones under arrest.
She threw another bottle of motor oil at them at this point. Officer 2. Ma'am, this is your final warning. Put the cane on the ground, hands up. Any further aggression from you and you will be tased.
Oh, big bad cop going to taser an old woman for trying to buy lottery tickets? I don't think so. I'm going home, and you all should be ashamed for treating an old lady like this.
She actually tried to get back into her car. The officers moved towards her, and Officer 1 reaches for her arm. Whack! Cane right upside Officer 1's head. Officer 2 tased her finally. Since she was elderly, the second EMS workers immediately came over and checked her after they got the cuffs on. Everyone stuck around to see what happened and to give their statements. As far as I could tell, no one was hurt except Officer 1. We drove back by the gas station after picking up groceries, and the tow truck was just then loading up her car. I didn't know being sick was first come, first serve. So this happened to me a while ago, 2014-ish, when I worked at a fast food restaurant in the UK with a red-headed clown as a mascot, as well as for some of the managers there. I have tons of malicious compliance stories from this place, and one day I will get around to posting them all. But for now, here's this one. Now, being an eating establishment, hygiene is very important, as you can imagine. The policy when I started there, and as far as I am aware is the same to this day, maybe even more strict considering everything going on, was that if you were sick, you had to have 48 hours off from the time you call in sick to ensure that you are better for returning to work so you don't get anyone else sick. Makes sense, right? I'm ill, I'm handling food, I'm going to get others sick. I'm not feeling great at all this shift. I was feeling a little off in the morning, but thought I might be able to get better by the evening when my shift is. Over the day, I started to get a cough, fever, runny and blocked nose, headache, full-on cold. The policy also states that if you are going to call in sick, it should be no later than 2 hours before your shift starts. Fair enough. It gets to 2 hours before my small 4-hour shift, and I feel dreadful. So I call up the manager on the shift that day. Me. Hi manager, it's Bowland. Cough. I feel awful. I shouldn't be working today. Sniff. Manager. You can't be sick. We need you in today. Me. I really am not well. I'm coughing and my nose is running everywhere. Deep, heavy cough. Manager. I've already had 3 people call in sick for today, so we need you to be here. See you in a couple hours. Hangs up. So here I am, dripping with sweat, not looking good at all, with a small smirk on my face, I think. Okay, guess I'm going to work tonight. I proceed to get ready, get in the car and drive to work. Now, there is no back door for employees to slip into at this place, so we have to use the main entrance and walk through the dining area to go into the back of the kitchen. So step 1, make sure I'm seen by as many people as possible looking like something out of a horror movie. I shamble through the front door, making sure to have a fit of coughing complete in my uniform so all the customers can see I am unwell. I make sure to wave and say hi to my colleagues on the counter in the huskiest voice I have before, wandering through the door that leads to the kitchen. At this point, I would like to say that I was in fact very sick that day and I should not have been working, but I wanted to teach my boss a lesson, so I might have exaggerated my symptoms just a little bit to make sure the point stuck. I made it to the break room where two of my crewmates are and immediately both ask if I'm feeling alright. I tell them no, but I have a point to prove, which is why I'm here. I check the rotation in break room and bingo, I'm on the register, front of house. Everyone can see me. This is perfect for step 2. Ensure each person I serve questions if I'm fit to work. I wander through the kitchen to the register and start working. My first customer places an order and they look a little wary. I get them their food and they go and sit down to start eating. My boss has seen this exchange and you can see the gears turning in his head. Can't be having a zombie serving food. I know, let's put them in the kitchen where they can't be seen. I get told to swap with a person who's working grill. So yes, I'm no longer seen by anyone, but they have moved me from working with wrapped food, which I couldn't contaminate, to working with creating the food from scratch. Great idea there, boss. FYI, I never intentionally did anything to anyone's food. I was trying to be very good and stepped out of the kitchen every time I needed to cough or blow my nose, washed my hands, and then got back to it. I've been working for an hour or so now, still 3 to go, and by this point, I'm feeling lightheaded and unable to focus on what I'm doing. I'm not exaggerating anymore. I am not good at all. It's not very busy, so I'm just trying to keep myself on my feet. In walks the night manager, who happens to be the acting store manager too. Night manager. Evening, Bowland. Me. Grunts and sniffs. Night manager. Are you feeling all right? Me. Slowly shakes head. Night manager. Why didn't you call in sick? Me. I did, but I was told that others had already called in sick, so I had to be here. She looks around at the pretty empty restaurant and plenty of staff, including the manager who had me come in, sitting in the dining area pretending to look busy while being on his phone. Night manager. Clock out, go home, get better, and don't worry about your shifts for the next 2 days. I nod, and just before I go to get my stuff, I see her storm to the manager in the break area before dragging him into the office. I go back to work after a couple of days like I was told, feeling 100%. I'm greeted by the night manager who checks on me, which I'm grateful for. I start to work and get caught up on the workplace gossip. Turns out, the manager who made me work that day was given a stern talking to that night, and he turned in his resignation the next day, or so the rumor goes. I'm in the queue with you? So this happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I was at a busy pub on a Sunday afternoon, enjoying a few drinks and a meal with a friend in a rather large, lovely beer garden. This pub does not have table service. If you want food or drinks, you have to go to the small outdoor bar. No worries. As I mentioned, it's busy because it was a glorious sunny day. There's 2 tills at the bar. They're clearly signed. One is for food and drinks, and one is drinks only. I was in the significantly longer queue to order food and a beer, and it was taking a while because I guess there were families in front of me ordering lots of food. I didn't mind waiting, not like I had places to be. I was the last in the queue for a while, then this man stands behind me. As soon as he realizes the queue is not moving, he starts huffing and puffing. I'm kind of laughing to myself about this guy for being so miserable. Lighten up, it's a beautiful day. I was also feeling sorry for whoever would have to serve him since he was definitely going to be a Karen. I'm daydreaming at this point. Next thing I know, Entitled Man taps me on the shoulder very firmly. I turn around, quite shocked. Entitled Man, with an angry look on his face. Are you ordering food or not? Me, taken aback. Yeah, this is the food queue. Are you ordering food? He lets out the biggest, loudest sigh. Why wouldn't you tell me then? You couldn't have put up signs for which line is which? Me. What? I'm in this queue because there are signs. You can order drinks over there. Entitled Man. Unbelievable. Ridiculous. He then storms off and joins the other queue. I watched him there with this what the heck look on my face as he scowled at me, then at the staff in the bar, then back at me, tapping his foot impatiently. I don't know if he really thought that I worked there or not. Regardless, he channeled his anger towards me as though he thought I did. I really don't get how he could have thought I was working there. I had a summer dress, high heels, a cool hat, and I was carrying a handbag. None of the waitresses or bartenders were wearing anything even remotely similar to what I was wearing. Still boggles my mind. I think that guy needed more than just a drink. Maybe needs to get a girlfriend. Edit. Just in case anyone is concerned, where I live, a city in Australia, there have been 0 cases for months. Our government and local community worked hard and took everything very seriously, so now we can go out and have as much fun as we like, and be bothered by many entitled Karens as well. So Karen, what did you think of today's stories?
They were horrible.
Horrible? How dare you? These were some of the best we've ever read.
Oh, shut up, Mr. Reddit. It's ridiculous what people like myself have to go through. Dealing with stupid people like yourself and your subscribers.
Look, Karen, you can say whatever you want about me, but don't you talk about my re-army.
Re-army. Most of your viewers aren't even subscribed to your channel. 70% if I'm correct.
Well, I can't argue with that. That's true. Most of my viewers don't actually subscribe for some reason.
It's because you're stupid, Mr. Reddit.
No, I'm not! Alright guys, let's prove Karen wrong by making sure you're subscribed to the channel and turn on notifications.
They're not going to listen to you.
And if you'd like me, or Karen,
What?
to record a special message for you, come visit me on Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below.
Never.
And join as a channel member today, and Karen will give you a special shout out in the next video.
Like heck I will.